There we go. I think everything's up and running. So, it's time for session 1. I can't believe we got here for a start, but let's just get underway. Empress City, the first metropolis, the city of Crystal Magitech, perhaps the greatest shining beacon of what humanity can achieve that is left on Fortune. This is a world forever tied to the meddling of higher beings. Some still worship the goddess for all that she did, for the elevation of mankind, the bringing of stability to the elements, to the world around. And others fear that her loss in containing the scourge forevermore has created a slow and inevitable doom that will take over the world. There is no greater example of this incredible and inevitable destruction than the wastes that surround Empress City. Formerly one of the greatest empires in the world, Zemesia, it is little more than rock and sand and roving bands of creatures that are almost beyond the comprehension of mortal kind. But here Empress City stands. Incredible spires of marble, waterways, hanging gardens, suburbs, an entire lake enclosed within the walls of the city. And perhaps most impressively, the far-reaching rail network that goes both north, south, east, and west from the city, sprawling out and drawing resources into this hungry and ever-growing metropolis. Perhaps its biggest limitation is its environment. It has created a bubble, a field, which keeps out the ever-growing wastes and even some of the smaller waste fiends that kind of roam around that environment as well. Of course, larger creatures can still get in, and that is where Empress Knights come in. These incredible warriors, heroes one and all, push away those creatures that would break through the barrier. And not only that, they range far and wide. They protect other settlements, other nations from the monsters that might range further from the wastes and head off in order to try and spread it. These Empress Knights, the greatest of them, all come from Immortus Academy. Each and every one of them trained there in the art of combat, in the art of maintaining their specialized gear and tactics, given the best of the best supplies. But that's not where our story is going to start. Our story starts in a less important district, in a less important academy, in a classroom off to one side. At present, only 5 individuals are in this classroom that could perhaps seat 30 or so at its maximum occupancy. Does someone want to tell me what their character looks like, and where in the class did you choose to sit? At the front, at the back, to the side, near the windows on the right-hand side, or otherwise?
Dafer, Sebastian Skelt, red-haired person, pretty not overly built, but definitely a visible muscle definition, will be pretty much sitting front and center. Assuming we had a class before and this is a small break in between, he'd still give the notes on the board one last look to see if there's anything he can internalize about them that he hasn't already.
Uh,
For
Dafer, there was no. This is the first you've been in. It's very early morning, and on the board is written only two words in big but quite scraggly handwriting. Professor Axel, and it's just sort of like scrolled across the board, and it's been left there with no additional information whatsoever. You've just been told to come to this classroom and wait.
if this is just our first day, in that case, still sitting front and center, I assume everybody else also is already there, or are they filing in?
Yeah, everyone's already there. I just need to know who they are, where they are, and what they look like.
Do I know that we're grouped as a team essentially together?
I think you could probably intuit it from the fact there are 5 other people sat here. Yeah. Well, 4 other, I suppose.
In that case, I think Adhira would, for the most part, catch his eye because she very much looks like she's from far away from the Lament Desert.
Get volunteered, Adhira. What would you? Where are you sat, and what do you look like?
Probably closer to the front, maybe only a couple rows behind Dafer, but off to the side, closer to the wall. Adhira is dressed in something slightly nicer than her usual wear, still with a hood, lighter fabrics, flowing baggier pants. She is dark of skin with golden points of makeup or henna adorning her face and around her fingers. Pure white hair sort of tumbles from underneath the hood, but held back with a few clips. She has a bit of a nervous energy on her face that she is trying to keep under check and outwardly appear calm, cool, and collected, but her eyes just keep on darting around the room.
Okay. And who of the people left to describe themselves do you look at next then, Adhira, as we'll pass on this volunteer system we've got going right now?
Probably the more nobler looking male.
Alright. That sounds like you, Caliban.
Well, I was gonna save myself the best for last, but I suppose I can go right now. Caliban von Hallig, of the Hallig lineage. Sat in the back of the class, overlooking everybody else. Hair white as the driven snow, in a form as if crafted by the goddess herself. Just staring nonchalantly towards the rest of the students. More focused on the front.
Okay.
So, my eye catches the last remaining man in the group.
I believe that would be you, Uther.
Uther is like head down at his desk in a book, just scribbling notes off to the side. He's in a more relaxed outfit. He's got a blue and silver sweater on. Still has a scarf wrapped around him, but he's here for class. He's having a good day.
Okay. Is the book about anything in particular, or have you just grabbed the first thing you came across earlier today, or?
It is probably something to do with the city itself, just kind of familiarizing.
History of, or more like a tourist's guide, or what would you have gone for, Uther, out of interest?
I could see both being useful, but let's go with history of.
Gotcha. That's a big old dusty tome you've got in front of you then, Uther, as you're flicking through pages, getting through from front to back. That leaves only one person. No volunteering required. Clara.
No volunteering required. So we have saved the best for last night.
It begins.
Clara is probably set, I would imagine, on adherer's row, like 2 or 3 in, but next to the window, and with nothing pressing, no lesson to pay attention to, and a severe lack of people since we're all spread out. I imagine she's looking off at the window. She is the 3rd redhead of the group, which I now realise is... That's what we're at. So that's interesting. We have all opted for one of 2 hair colors. It's just red or white.
I did say anime,
Like a
to be
brownish.
fair. Okay, yours is more like...
Brownish.
Gotcha.
Yes, I imagine she's just staring out of the window, thinking of the homeland she left behind.
You can give me the first check of the game then. You can give me a lauded and ever asked for perception check.
Oh my goodness. It's a 19.
That's a solid start. Was that a 14? That's above the average on the die
Yeah.
anyway. Looking out, sort of lazily paying attention, you can see a group of perhaps 4 other students, because down and to the right hand side of you there's a little square for... It's almost like a drill square. If it was more of a military academy, and perhaps it was once upon a time, it would have been like an area where a troop formation marched in a square around in a circle. But the 4 of them at present are practicing essentially throwing each other into the air, and then either someone else catching or an attack being sort of launched off of the back of that. You see there's one girl with short, curly, white hair. Another girl who's wearing a sort of like face mask for sickness, like one would during a pandemic or something like that, with a shorter bob cut. One kid who seems to be wearing a bandage wrapping around the wrist up into the arm, and then like a short sleeve greenish shirt. And then the other person you're struggling to pick out any details on a 19. There's sort of like a fuzziness to them, almost like a blur filter over their image as you're looking through the window at them, which sort of probably catches your eye for a moment as you're trying to pick out details, your eyesight being quite keen as it is.
Nice.
As you're taking a look at that, finally, the door to the classroom opens. It's always a little difficult to tell exactly how old an Empress Knight is, but you can tell by looking at them, they're aging a little faster than they probably should. There's some salt and pepper in the hair, despite the fact that they physically look to be in their, like, mid-20s or something like that. They're lean, quite muscular, but that's covered up by their clothing more than anything. They're wearing proper suit trousers, and then a unironed shirt that's all wrinkly, a tie that is done up in the loosest of senses, and then over the top of that is like a duffel coat body warmer of a bright green color. Obvious circles under the eyes, but despite the sort of like tired markings there, there's a brightness and an energy to the eyes themselves. Over their shoulder is a hexagonal staff that they're carrying like one would a rifle. It's big and heavy and chunky looking, with 2 big metal caps at either side. And you can see it's segmented, like it can be twisted and reconfigured and otherwise shifted around. He walks into the class, kind of more looking out the corner of his eye at the group of you before stacking the staff up in the corner with a heavy thunk. He walks over to the board, taps it, and says, I'll be your head instructor. Just Axel will do, and like wipes a hand through the professor part. I don't know if any of you were told, but your class is a little unconventional. If nothing else, you're starting mid-year, so I hope that was a bit of a hint. Looks around at the group of you to see if there's any looks of recognition or whether this comes as a shock to some of you or not.
I would assume that this would have been like explained as part of the deal with my village. So I assume I would have been privy to this information.
You would have been told it's mid-year start.
I guess you'll see a slightly surprised wrinkling of the eyebrows in the sense that our classes will be special, because it was only mentioned that it's mid-year, and I would have assumed that is normal, that they accept twice a year or something.
He just says, you're about a month behind your colleagues. As such, you'll be working pretty hard to catch up. Also, you've ruined our numbering system. You'll be class 10, but you're a first-year class, so try not to get confused by that. The rest of the first years are class 1 to 3, and you'll have plenty of time to meet them soon, but for now, you'll be staying in the year 2 dorms. It's the only one we had space in. He reaches into his desk and pulls out a set of little notebooks and hands them out to... it would be you at the front day first, so he would hand you the set of 5. Each of them has a name emblazoned on the front. Looks at you and says, hand those back. They contain a journal for you to keep track of anything you want to keep track of. There's also your identity card as a student in there. And in addition to that, there is also some maps and other useful information as well. I'll let you know ahead of time that I'm normally the main tutor for the 3rd years, which means normally I don't have to do much. They're already pretty set up. They only come to me when there's a particularly interesting problem. That's supposed to be how it works, because I've got my own things going on, but I'll do my best to be there when you need me.
Clara's gonna raise her hand.
Yes, you, in the sort of middle there.
It's Clara, Professor. I was wondering, if you usually teach 3rd years, why have you been assigned to our class?
Give me an insight check.
Oh, I'm really good at those. 15.
You see the look of someone who wants to give an honest answer, and then the resignation of someone who needs to give a politically correct answer. Something that perhaps you have a lot of experience with, considering your place of growing up, Clara. As there is a moment of daring on his features, and then it shuffles into a more... Because of the more open schedule I normally have, it was deemed that perhaps I had the time to take on additional classes, namely yours.
She gives him a very knowing look, but doesn't say anything.
He walks over to the window, opens it up, takes a pre-rolled cigarette out and takes a small crystal tube out, taps it to the end, lights it, and then leans quite far out as he begins smoking. Looks back into the classroom and says, "For today, I just want you all to get to know each other. Head around campus, head to the nurse's office. You'll have to take an immunobooster, especially for those of you who are new to the whole shell thing. And in addition to that, I've been told we've got a specialist in. You can thank your friend in the back there, but the Azalea Foundation has quite kindly donated a shell specialist to handle anything that you might need updated or tweaked with your individual systems."
Caliban just like gestures with the floor, shove his hand in a "please don't, no need to thank me" kind of way.
After you've all had a time to head to the nurse's office, head to the requisitions office, get some food for this evening. Students are allowed to gather whatever they want for there for cooking and otherwise taking care of themselves there. If you've got any washing, you can drop it off there too. They'll clean it and have it ready for you in the next morning. Head to the workshops. Just walk around a little bit. See if you can find anything to entertain yourselves. Tomorrow I'll have you spar against one of the other classes so you can understand exactly how far behind you are. Okay.
Sounds like we need to start planning for that then.
If that's...
Works for me, sir. However, a question. My specialty and a huge amount of my skill set is pretty much tied to runes and such. Do we have a specific place for learning materials or like?
We have a library, but you might have more luck just heading to the workshop. I think Ethan is the kid from your year who's doing the non-combat workshop stuff. Otherwise, if you can get hold of Mr. Stone, he's sort of the master artificer around here, but honestly, I rarely ever see him in the halls. He's probably cooped up in some laboratory somewhere.
Okay, so Ethan likely in the workshops and Mr. Stone in the... Sorry, where was that again?
Well, I don't know, is the honest answer, but if you find him, he's a person to talk to.
Okay.
Anyone else got any questions?
Do we need
That's what
to...
you're putting us up against, out of curiosity. Can you tell us?
Class 2, Year 1, and I won't say anything more. If you want to do your sleuthing, then learn to sleuth well.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
Is that all?
It is on my end.
Silent nod.
He's about to say something more. Everyone give me perception checks.
Alright.
Have we gotten our shells yet?
That's up to you. So you can either have it on you right now, or it will be something you do at the nurse's office.
At the nurse's office.
Okay.
Farah would already have his.
Mm-hmm.
I'm given shield wall. I would assume I have mine.
Yeah, that's fine. Clara and Defer, you hear a soft rhythmic tapping from down the hallway out of the door, sort of like tap, 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 tap. And as you hear that, you quite clearly see your instructor does too. Suddenly cuts what he was about to say. He sits down on the front desk and lifts his feet off the ground, and you watch him hold his breath. As the tapping gets closer and louder, the rest of you sort of twig into it as well. And then at the doorway appears a gentleman in his maybe late 40s to 50s, big sort of white handlebar mustache, very like cowl-licked over, tightly combed, almost military precision, no hair out of place hair. Beautiful, like, tailored to them suit, and a cane in hand as they tap to find the doorway. Obviously, you can see the eyes as being quite milky and grey, a blind individual. Gets to the doorway and says, "Please, Axel, I could hear your voice from more than the halls away. You're not going to trick me by slowing your heart rate." He sighs. "I assume you're done with your class, from what I heard. Your headmistress requires your presence." He then turns and bows to you and says, "Welcome to the academy."
Thank you.
Thank you.
Axel will sort of gesture at this individual that's come out of nowhere and he will say, "This is Elias Brain, advisor to a judge here in the city, and close friend of your headmistress. Should you see him around, please do help him out. He has a tendency to get lost and end up in the wrong classroom, as I assume you're looking for someone else?" No? Very well. Since there were no further questions, I'll be off then. He grabs his staff, lugs it over his shoulder, and joins the more elderly gentleman to walk him up the stairs and further into the building itself, leaving the five of you alone.
Good luck.
He gives you a weak smile over his shoulder as he passes by you.
Interesting entry into all of this.
Does anyone know how we're supposed to get to the nurse's office?
Absolutely no idea, but I don't think it'll be that tough to ask. It might be a good idea to introduce ourselves to each other, no?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'm Dafer. I'm from Dulacop, just from a village out there. Here for basically an exchange program. If you care, my specialty is pretty much runes. I guess beyond endurance. Yeah, endurance is pretty much my specialty.
Okay, if no one else wants to go. My name's Clara. Clara Lutz Maddox. I'm from further up. I'm from Heaven's Pillars. I transferred. I used to be at Academia Mortis, but I decided to move. I don't really have a specialty. My marksmanship's pretty good, and animals seem to like me.
Oh. What kind of animals? The small kind? The big kind?
I've never met anything that didn't want to, hang around. I've never been bitten, I've never been stung.
Oh. Sorry, I am just... if I remember back in my village, it's pretty much just... very few memories with an animal that isn't trying to eat you.
Well, maybe you just haven't met the right animal.
Maybe you're poisonous.
I don't know. I'm certainly not venomous.
Well, that's a relief, I guess.
Sorry, you are?
Uther, also of Dulacop proper. Single target eliminations and dabbling in runes?
It seems a bit of an odd mix.
Runes is a family interest and, just kind of flexes one of his not quite noodle arms, but nowhere near as big as as our friend here, and just, I am not going to be taking on a horde of monsters in my current state.
I mean, nothing you can't fix with a little bit of focus on your diet and a few exercises.
Trust me, I have been accelerating the process as much as I physically can. This is... what you're looking at is a while of work into the subject. I am just not going to be a very intimidating person.
Don't sell yourself short. Intimidation can come from more than just muscle mass. Apologies, Satira. You were trying to say something.
Girl speaks up. I am Adhira Far. I come from the Hyrenian Desert, though you may know it as the Sands of Lament and other colorful names, but I specialize in being quick and remaining unseen.
Out of curiosity, do you have like a favorite spice from over there?
Masala, mostly. Or Garm, as some have taken to calling it.
I haven't used that one before, or tasted it for that matter. I'll be looking forward to incorporating that eventually into some experimental dishes.
Cook.
I'm
Excuse me?
You can cook, like properly.
I don't burn water. I do not wish to oversell it, but I have acquired enough skills to not burn water at this point.
I don't know if it's possible to burn water.
I have witnessed things in my village that made me actually want to learn.
That just leaves one.
Everyone turns to look at you in the back there, I suppose.
Caliban has been too busy like studying like the nail beds of his fingernails, just like looking, just checking for dirt. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you all introducing each other?
Yes, and our specialties. If we're supposed to work pretty closely together and rely on one another, like,
Oh,
makes
well,
sense
I
to me.
suppose. Caliban. And
And
while this may be of the lesser academies, well, if I must suffer in the same ways as my forefathers, so be it. I will suffer in silence. But if you must know even the slightest bits of details about me, I tend to favor a little bit more of the firearm variety myself. And a bit of a skilled hand in tinkering about with tools of the trade involved.
You're noble.
Smart girl.
Takes one to know one. Why are you here?
Question of the ages.
Literally or philosophically?
Why
No,
can't it be both?
There's no way that if you're noble, from the city, I presume, because you don't speak with an accent like the rest of us. Why are you not at Immortus? Why are you here?
Who can say? Probably all the spots were filled up, and I just didn't meet the attendance.
okay.
Can I
Just
insight that?
Yeah, you can roll an insight check.
Trying to find out how much of this he is hiding behind his mask, so to say. Ooh, not good.
I think, unfortunately, Zira, it is a new city with a new form of politics that you've not come across before. It's very difficult for you to sort of understand whether this is being brushed off or otherwise at this point. I did see Uther. You were looking through the notebook for a map of the school. You do find one, and you find out that the nurse's office is sort of down 2 floors, but in the same building you're in right now.
I am going to relay that just while they're trying to interrogate this stone in the back of the class. I'm just going to pop off with the directions to the nurse's office.
Oh, there's a map among the materials?
Yeah, I would assume that's why they handed it out.
Nice. Dafer will just like file through the stuff to like quickly grab the map, just take a short look at it, and then pull it back together.
The map is unfortunately a little bit cryptic because it's got the buildings by floor, but the floors aren't necessarily like building 1, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. It's like these are all the floor 1s, these are all the floor 2s, these are all the floor 3s, and you have to kind of guess by the footprint as to which building that actually is in. But yeah, luckily the main building is just like this big L shape that sort of sets it apart from everything else.
I assume this is for information gathering, right?
I mean, information gathering is one way you can approach this. I think just familiarizing ourselves with one another, like with a spar or something, could also help. We don't know if we're actually going into single round tomorrow and not team combat.
No, I mean the map being laid out in the absolute worst way to relay information ever.
Actually, I mean, given how it's laid out, could I try to like more properly piece together which is which by like inferring based on positioning, etc.
If you had some time this evening to like sit down and look at it, you think you could, but at a glance, it is just a bit of a mess to a point where Uther's point kind of rings true to you a little bit, Dafer, that like even if someone wasn't trying to mess it up this bad, they would probably accidentally get some of this stuff more accurate, right? Like it feels obtuse on purpose as you're sort of looking through it at a glance.
I mean, we can also talk more along the way, but I think Uther is right. We should at least get our task list finished for the day before we decide what we want to do ourselves. Does anyone mind a spar or something after we've made our visit to the nursery? I also plan a visit to the workshop after this.
You'd want to make it fair first. Everyone should at least get their shells before they take it up on you.
Fair. Entirely fair.
Is anyone missing theirs?
I do not have mine yet.
Well, then no time like the present.
Yeah.
Much survival necessity where I'm from.
You guys heading down?
Yes,
Sounds like it.
Cool. All right. As a group, you kind of move down towards the stairwell. There's a big main stairwell and a couple of side ones as well. There doesn't seem to be many people out and about right now. You assume they're either in the actual classrooms having lessons right now or otherwise like out on practice or missions or so on and so forth. Heading down, you eventually find what was called the nurse's office and is labeled as the nurse's office. But it's more like an entire hospital wing. There's like a big double door. You can see on the right-hand side there are beds with like privacy screens and stuff like that. But then there are also desks with people working there too. You can see that there is one woman who everyone seems to be buzzing around, who sort of perhaps is more in charge of the area. However, one corner of the like little hospital wing that's down there looks to have been segregated off with little walls that look how do I put it, like prefabricated and only just put up in there. And there you can see a quite well-dressed individual with a lab coat over the top, and he is busying himself with what appears to be a segment of like chitin, but it's chained up to the ceiling and the floor on either side, anchored in place, and it sparks quite angrily as he gets close to it with a little crystal tool.
Sir, could you repeat the thing that he is
Yeah.
That has the chitin around it.
So there's a chain that attaches it to the ceiling and the floor to hold it up about head height, and he's sat there looking up at it with this crystal tool, tapping at it as it sparks out and sort of rages against his attempts to breach it with this little tool, which is distracting some of the nursing staff and otherwise that are walking around. Occasionally they look over shocked.
This just looks like a creature.
No, it's not a creature. It's like a segment of a creature. It's a piece of shell. A piece of a shell.
Okay. Sorry.
No worries.
That one. At a glance, does this look remotely familiar to anything I might have seen in Dulacop or the adults talked about when they were
you've seen a few corpses of miasmic monsters. This is a piece of a miasmic monster. This is someone creating a new shell as far as you can see, but whatever this material is, whatever divergent miasmic monster this came from, it was a particularly nasty one because it's bursting energy as he tries to put an incision in it. Seeing you all sort of hanging around outside, a woman will walk forward and open the door, and look at you all and say, "Are you the new class? Are you class 10?
Yes. You're one of the things that we had to do on our list of tasks for today.
Yes, we were told that you would be coming. First, you want to go over to the corner there. I'm Olivia, by the way. I'm the head nurse here. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I hope I don't have to see you too often.
Pleasure, I'm sure.
Try not to make it a habit.
She's got bob hair, pink on one side, blonde on the other, and matching colored eyes as well. So a pink eye on one side and a blonde, a sort of yellow golden eye on the other, and her name is Olivia. But she gestures over to the corner where the man is working on the shell. Says, "Once you're done there, come see me."
Sir?
Oh, so you've walked over?
Yep.
As you're approaching, emerging as if from the shadows, waiting, big customer service smile on her face, hair that's wavy, but at the same time it looks like it may have been straightened just a little bit, so it's not too wavy. Nicely done makeup, very proper businesswoman attire. Immediately, Caliban, you recognize Leanne Boucher as she steps forward, and she puts her hand out towards you, Dafer, to shake your hand. "My name is Leanne. I'm from the Azalea Foundation."
Hello, ma'am. We have some in our group.
Go on.
We have some in our group that are receiving their shell today.
Oh, how wonderful. I was just about to introduce you. This is Richard, or Professor DeVow. He will be in charge of assigning you your shells, doing any maintenance on them, and I assure you, for someone having their shell installed or otherwise, this is the finest individual that we could provide to you. He stops his work, turns around towards you, bright purple hair, all off to one side as if he's been near an explosion that's gone off, but you can see it's sort of been gelled that way. Sharply dressed, but with the lab coat over the top. Looks around the group and then looks at you, Caliban, and says, I have something for you, Caliban. The Foundation requires your assistance once more. I'm sure you're quite comfortable with the shell you have at present, but I've been told to switch you out for a new one.
Well?
He reaches under his desk, pulls out a beautifully ornate box with golden filigree. He opens it up. It's all on beautiful felt underneath, and then there is this almost like a spider's web of bone, I would describe it as. It's like bleached white on a chain that can be worn and like wrapped around the body, so it's worn underneath the clothing. He says, this is a part of our new prototype, what we're calling booster line. In certain pinches, it can give you an edge by drawing out the innate energies stored within the shell. Happy to install that. And who among you has never had one before?
Adhira raises her hand.
Pleasure to meet you. Please just call me Richard. And you are?
I am Adhira Far.
I see. And you're from the Ments. Wonderful. I don't think I've ever installed one on someone from the Ments before, but don't worry. It's all much of the same.
Does where we're from impact how the shells react?
One's temperament, one's biology, one's life experience can even affect it. Finding one that pairs with you well is the important first step.
Ah, I see.
But don't worry.
She forces a smile.
I'm sure that I have something... Oh, what an interesting little device you've got there on your waist. Where did you get that?
I got it from my mentor.
Wonderful. It's a little archaic, but that will affect my calculations a little. Would you come with me into more private space, Atira?
Sure. She seems just a little nervous for the device to have been immediately picked out by him like that.
He leads you into the private space quickly, just says to you, you're fully aware of what the object is that you're wearing, yes?
Yes, it's been talking.
Good. That means that at least it's friendly. Okay, well, just stay still. He scans you with various crystal devices, takes a pinprick of your blood from your finger, kind of matches that against like a color chart that he has, and eventually pulls out a smaller, less ornate box, but a very similar looking object, if not in this spider web configuration that he then gives to you, Atira. This should do you well.
I reach out, hand tentatively hovering over it for a few seconds before grabbing it. What does it feel like?
Just as you reach out, just as you're about to grab it, it zips from the box and kind of sticks to your hand. Not in like a aggressive manner, but more like a magnetized sense. It sort of attaches to your fingertips as you're reaching for it. He goes, yep, perfect. You can wear that however you want. It can be placed upon your clothing, or I can get you a chain or something to wear it with. You may feel a little under the weather for the next few days. Some people liken it to a cold or other common sickness, as it will drain a little extra from you, if a little more of your life energy, but it shouldn't be too inconvenient.
Alright, I'll make sure to keep that in mind. Hopefully the workshop can give me a chain and some copper wire, and I can fashion this into hopefully some jewelry.
That sounds wonderful. He then comes out with the Tira and sorry, I slipped there for a second. It comes out with the Tira, and one by one he would call you into the like side office. Check your shell, make sure that you're all okay. Caliban, he'll talk you through what your new shell can do. You can expend a hit dice to boost your athletics check by whatever you rolled as well. So if you're making an athletics check, you can burn a hit dice and boost your athletics roll by whatever is rolled on that, essentially. That's what the new shell is testing. He's from the Azalea Foundation.
That's it. I knew it was a flower. I couldn't remember which one.
Dafer, obviously when you come in, you've adjusted your shell yourself, yeah?
That I assume like mildly to make it more compatible with the runes and to make it capable of feeding energy into the runes that I have on my greaves, my boots and gauntlets.
He would look at that and say, "Interesting. This is good work. Who taught you?"
Not that many. I think there was like one was a graduate that came from here.
Oh, interesting. I don't recognize some of these runes. Are they a local variety?
One of them is most certainly. I'm not sure, like that I know as part of the emblem of where I'm from. I'm not sure if the others are. I'm not particularly familiar of what's common where.
If you could write down some of the notes of what you've done to your shell, obviously I don't want to adjust it without fully understanding what it is. If you can hand those to me at some point across the next week, I'll hand you some of my personal notes as well. We can do an information exchange if you would like. Dafer, wasn't it?
Yes. That would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
I'm still fiddling around with shells as a power source.
It is a tricky subject. Like I said, they all have their own certain temperaments, which makes it hard to fit them into the standardized approach that many companies are taking these days. So, good work with what you've done so far. You haven't killed yourself, which is a great first step.
Thank you for inspiring confidence.
Is there anyone who wants to talk to him about anything in particular before you move on and head to the nurse?
You go.
I would ask him if he has seen recently Dr. Stone.
Only when I was first introduced to the area. He was, shall we say, forced into a sit-down meeting with me so I could understand what resources I could acquire from his workshops and what would need to be brought in from the Foundation. Otherwise, as far as I'm aware, he keeps to his own personal laboratory. Only some of the more senior members of the workshop have keys to that, and I am to understand that they are quite traumatized from accessing it previously. So, good luck.
Huh. The way you describe him is either as someone as flighty as some siblings of mine, or as eccentric as some elders of mine.
I believe that he's taken this position simply for the resources. He does turn out a good many objects for the Academy to use, but in terms of his administrative and otherwise appearances in the Academy, I believe that is at a minimum.
I guess if he's that deep in his research, I can somewhat understand, to my chagrin. Oh. Okay. Are we then all outfitted?
I think Clara had something she wanted to talk to him about as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand over my shell to him.
Okay.
I hope it's not too much trouble. I'm pretty used to it. It doesn't need adjusting, I don't think. But I had one when I was at home, and it was altered. I was at Academia Mortis for a week or so. Can you tell me what they did to it? Here are my notes on what it was before. I don't know whether they changed anything.
He sits down, he looks at it, says, interesting. They seem to have front-loaded the energy shunt from whatever the shell is doing into what would be your weaponry. So whatever gun you were using, it was their intent was to amp up the kick it would give. I could imagine that would cause some recoil issues. Have you been having any trouble with your aim as of late?
Not that I've noticed.
It could be that the shell is adjusting well enough with your ability to lean into it. I can certainly undo it, but it seems the intent was to put more of the life energy into dealing hurt, shall we say.
I see. I was just wondering, never really told me what they were doing to it. They obviously had plans. I was just wondering what they had in mind was best for me. Thank you, though.
Oh, I wouldn't be able to tell without seeing what kind of weaponry you're using specifically, but I will say this is good work, but it's a bit wrong of them not to have consulted you first.
It is what it is. She goes to finish a sentence and then stops. I trust they had good reason.
Nods and says, well, if you do have any concerns or problems going forward, you know where to find me. The Azalea Foundation has made it clear to me that I should be at your full disposal.
Because if she looks over at Caliban, because of Caliban?
Yes.
Okay. She attaches her shell back to like her lapel. Just steps back in line.
Is that all of you? Okay. Heading
I
over.
believe it is.
I was just gonna give Leanne just a brief wave.
She will give you a big smile, come on over, give you a hug, and say, as ever, Caliban, a wonderful seeing you. Just so you know, you won't need to go to your usual clinic for your checkups. You can come to Mr. DeVow here. He'll handle everything for you here.
I expect to receive the same quality of care.
He picks up and rattles a pot of lollipops as you say that and says, I've received your notes.
I'll take one.
You take one from
This
the
will
pot.
absolutely put a display of this display of babying essentially puts a facial expression of bewilderment on Daver's face.
And I do wish to know how research has been going on things.
Of course. You can come see me anytime.
Of course. He just sort of like gives a brief bow of the head.
Heading to head nurse Olivia, she'll introduce herself again very quickly and then say, for most of you, you're more used to your shells. For some of you, this is newer. We've received one of the first batches of the new immunoboosters that will help people get to the full capacity of any new shell they're wearing. If you come see me, you can take one once a week and it will help you adjust. She will give you a little pill to take, essentially.
Is it like does she expect us to take them now?
She doesn't seem too concerned whether you take them now or not. She will explain that they are made with resources that have been shipped from Heaven's Pillar, a certain medical route that's supposed to boost one's own immunosystems. It pairs quite nicely with the shell.
Clara nods proudly.
Does anyone want to take it now, or is anyone holding off? Or
I'll take it now.
Anyone who take
in order.
Go on, Dave.
I would also take it now as it would be prudent to figure out how it affects you in.
Just in case you start foaming at the mouth, being in the doctor's office is probably the best place to be. I understand that, Dave. Everyone who takes the pill, increase your max and current HP by 1, so long as it doesn't go over the maximum theoretical possible you could have had. So, for example, if you've got 3d10s and you rolled a 10, a 10, and a 9, you could only ever benefit from it once because it would put you up to your 30 plus whatever your con mod is. And you can come back to the nurse each week. She can give you one of these and you will continue to increase in HP until you reach your maximum.
This is what the immuno boosters do.
That's right, yeah.
Interesting. Just 1 point of HP.
Just one, yeah.
I think
It does
narratively, I would be watching the people that took it to see how they react to it, like over the course of the next hour or so before I take mine.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No hesitation. I'm taking it right now.
No stranger to medication.
You've handed the man a pill, he is going to pop it.
Olivia will just say, if you have any problems, complications, you feel under the weather, anything like that, obviously if you break an arm, come here as well, but no problem is too small. We want to make sure you're in top health. After all, you will be going out on quite dangerous missions and wouldn't do well to die of the sniffles, would it? That's all I needed you for, really, was the introduction, give you the booster, and on your way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you mind? I have a rough idea on the layout, but how exactly can we go through like the corridor over there to the sparring fields?
Oh, well, there's inside and outdoor sparring areas. You can either use the drill square for sparring, or there are a couple of dojos in the building across the way. Alternatively, there is an actual sparring field, but that's all the way on the other side of the campus.
I think a dojo will do just fine.
But if you want to get something to eat for tonight, I believe the requisitions office closes by noon today, so you probably want to head there first. That's by the entrance. She'll add to you, Dafer, as you like breathe into. She's like, I'll pip this question.
All right. Okay. Like you see the gears turning in Dafer's head as he plans out with the map in his head how that is supposed to look like. Okay. So double check this for me. So if we're going to the entrance first in order to grab a bite, that should be this direction, right?
Yes, that looks to be correct. She like closes one eye and like rotates her 3D image of the school in her head as she thinks about it.
Oh. Thank you, Olivia, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, shall we grab a bite first? Direct
I think
it
we
at the
have to.
party. All right.
I could go for some food.
Heading out, passing by a few classrooms, you see stacked with individuals, lessons on the history of Empress, lessons on miasmic biology, things like that. You hear little snippets of conversations as you're walking through the halls. You do see some what you assume to be older students as well, individuals that are probably in their third year. Let me just double check. One in particular is wearing what I would describe as gothic military surplus, with like a pair of reading glasses, hair cut quite short, and with fingerless gloves on as well. She gives you sort of a welcome to East Academy sort of nod and a few kind words as she walks past you in the corridor as well.
Would she trigger any kind of recognition senses for me? Like, is she famous in some sort, or would I have seen her?
She doesn't seem familiar to you, no. You might have seen her around if you've been in I2 for a while, but otherwise, like, she stands out, but she's not famous.
Okay. I'm sorry, and Could you use the verbiage again to describe her clothing? Because I have like, this gothic in my mind, but that doesn't.
Military surplus, so think like military camo, but all tinted and like chroma shifted to be black and white or otherwise like grey colors as well.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so she just greets us as we pass her, and so I'll keep her in mind for now, since she seems to be so memorable. But other than that, I don't think there's like anything standing out to me, at least.
After a little walk, you guys find yourself at the door to the requisitions office. It's literally like a building right next to the entry gate. There's the requisitions office on one side and sort of like the welcome area front desk to the other side. The doors are already open. The weather outside it's warm. Empress City has like a decent climate to it, but it's not swelteringly hot. I would imagine at Hira it's quite cold to you, perhaps. But heading inside, there are big bags of grain. There are like cuts of either like dried meat or fresh meat that's been delivered today. There's one individual who's a little older with kind of like a faded red hair behind the desk, who looks up, gives you a nod as you walk in, but doesn't say anything. Big buckets of lentils, spice barrels, things like that, with little like cup scoops and stuff, all the things you could possibly want. Some of them do have prices next to them, but other ones are labeled as free. So if you want to take spices, you need to take it to be weighed and pay for, but stuff like grains and staple food and stuff like that all looks like you can just grab whatever you want from here.
Okay, Sam.
Yes.
Very important question for me.
Yes.
Number one, are the fresh and dried meats as well as the lentils in the free section?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Next question. Do I have some kind of allowance as part of my deal, or do I need to start taking up some kind of free spare time job or something?
Uther, having probably had the most detailed inspection of your notebook of anyone, you know that the crystal card that is your identity card also can be used to purchase things within the city. It has a 100 gold per month limit on it, however.
I'm going to just lean in and just whisper that info to him and remind him it's in the information packet.
Oh, that is perfect. Because, like, you would have seen him just very curiously staring at the spice shelves. Like, having rarely seen... So, like, I assume I got some time to experiment with some of the spices in, like, the embassy. When I just asked, hey, can I just at least play around a bit in the kitchen after you guys leave or something?
Yeah, cooking you probably would have had a harder time with, but being given certain kinds of foods, requesting it, that probably would have been allowed, and you probably would have had some time to sort of dissect what was in it and how that was. But as for actually using it in the kitchen, probably not yet, Dayfer. You probably have not.
Okay, in that case, I essentially ask for some I look in the region that looks more Trismerian and just try to grab some spice from there, like or just a spice pack from there. I assume, like just some rosemary, oregano, etc.
So yeah, you guys watch as Dayfer goes in, eyes go wide. Uther, you whisper something to him, and he just like beeline straight to the spice section, just gone, almost like dust cloud left behind as he as he like appears next to the spices. I don't know if anyone else is looking around for anything in particular, whether they'd be interested in looking.
I hope he
He's
knows
like
that's...
looking at all the free stuff, and he's just thinking to himself, well, and he thinks about all the money that he has right now, and he's thinking, well, I have all the money. I'm gonna have to get used to when I might not have it. So he just like just kind of like quietly like shuffles over, grabs like the closest thing that he has, like what he usually would have, or what many would consider a possibly normal meal, like maybe for people. maybe for humans.
Gotcha. As you go around the free section picking up things that you're slightly familiar with.
Maybe heard about in books, maybe?
Yeah, it's a little weird. Like, none of these are already pre-prepared as any sort of meal, Caliban. You're like, that says it's this kind of fish, but I know for a fact it's a different color than that. As you look at the salmon that's like an orangey color, and you're like, no, that's definitely pinker usually. As you're like...
Should someone be guiding the rich one to make sure he doesn't get something that kills him?
Ooh, pufferfish.
So if someone is Uther essentially shouting for dietary aid?
I think he's more shouting to corral Caliban.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk into the spice section, just nudge Drafer. The noble has not seen a kitchen in his life. He's just grabbing shit.
I just look over and like, how likely does it seem like the fish he's currently eating unprepared is about to give him a nasty time on the toilet?
I mean, I don't know if he's literally just eating out of the shelves or not, but the stuff that he's picked up, how do I put it? It's like, it's 4 different fish. And you're like, what like in your brain you're like, what meal? Like, what meal are you? You're like, maybe like a medley fish pie or something like that. But yeah, he's just picking up different kinds of
poisoning special.
He's just picking up different kinds of fish right now, as far as you can see.
Hey, Caliban, was it right?
Caliban just sort of looks like, yes.
If you want, I can give you some diet, give you some advice if you want to build some muscle and the like. The fish there will not necessarily help you with that. You can have some of the dried meat and combine that with lentils. I plan on cooking some later.
Caliban just like looks at Daper, then looks at everybody else like in our class. I think just like, I think you took all of our muscle.
Nah, man. Like, it's never too late to start building some. In the end, you don't need to be a muscle mountain or something, but just having that little bit of extra stamina can come in always handy. And it's, for the most of the part, most is just nutrition anyway. There. I plan on cooking some of this. I plan on cooking some of this together. If you guys want, you're invited.
Adhira, where have you head off to?
In contrast to the noble who has had everything prepared, Adhira is a bit in awe at the amount of selection she has, being from the streets and now seeing food so readily available for her. She keeps messing with the card containing the money, the credits, a foreign concept to her, sort of almost as if it was a playing card, running it down her fingers, running it back, looking at it, thinking about all the possibilities of what she could buy. But I think she eventually goes to grab some familiar rice and a selection of other things that she has wanted to try with the dish.
Yeah, you grab something you're familiar with and some things that you're not.
How much does this cost me?
Requisitions officer looks up at you, says, I think that's all free.
A look of barely concealed bewilderment. This has never been experienced by her before. If you say so. Thank you.
You're welcome. You can thank the headmistress, her connections.
Do we see her a lot? Does she wander around?
She can be seen from now and then. Usually she only has meetings with students if something has gone very well or very wrong, so try to be in the very well category. But I'm sure you'll bump into her.
I hope so too. I thank you for your advice.
Is there any... So, they have more stuff here than that as well. There's, like, art supplies that you can pay for, and sculpting materials, stuff like that. All kinds of other, like, I would call it adventuring gear stuff too, like rope and other bits and pieces if you need it or want it for whatever reason you might have. It is all here as well. There's also magazines and newspapers, including the Empress Herald and other more local papers as well that are stacked up that you can grab.
I'm going to see if they have a
does-
chess set.
They do cost you 10 gold. Very
That's
nice
fine.
chess set.
I'll put my down payment on my chess set, and then grab some, like, I don't know, leaves. I'll make a free salad to compensate.
Spend the rest of the school year just making chess metaphors.
He watches one episode of Queen's Gambit.
Sam,
Yes.
I assume their rune craft and the like is rare enough that there's not like a runes monthly or something.
There are definitely magazines or like publications that are about stuff that's being unveiled by different companies. Most of the big companies also put out their own publications, so you can see one from the Azalea Foundation actually stacked up as well as some other big names in the city side by side with it.
Right, so just, or rather, like, just stuff with generally about, like, Magitech and or runes, potentially, that might contain useful information that I could make use of in one way or another, or get inspired from.
Definitely inspired from. It's not going to be like a technical document, but yeah.
In that case, I'd grab one of the magazines, maybe some metal crafting gear, if there's any there. Like engraving gear and the like.
Probably cost you 10 gold as well, plus another gold for the magazine, so 11.
And the spices.
Oh, and the spices, probably another 10 on top if you're grabbing like a decent, like a few meals worth essentially. So 21 gold you would spend at that point, Dofer.
Okay.
There a maintenance area for like weapons and stuff?
He nods and says, Far building, you're the new class, yes? Class 10?
That would be correct.
Very far side of the campus. The workshop is literally just opposite your dorm.
Are the parts... Do they each have to be individually bought?
No, I believe that's free to the students. I must admit I don't have much to do with the buying of parts and otherwise, but I've never heard a student complain that they couldn't afford to do maintenance on their weapon. It'd be a little difficult to handle, I suppose.
Understood. It's just that my particular weapon is a little bit more of the complex variety, so if anything broke, I would just need to know how and where to get such things.
Understood. There is a technician that mostly oversees the students there. I believe her name is Ava. She'd be the best person to talk to if you have concerns. I'm sure she'll be able to reassure you.
Much appreciated.
You're welcome. what do you guys want to do? This is about as much instruction as you were given. You are about 11 a.m., so you've got most of the day still ahead of you.
I think I would have grabbed a couple of magazines, a small block of clay,
Mhm.
and some stuff for some food later. And I might ask if someone behind the counter knows where what was it? 2? Which class 2? Yeah, usually hangs out.
Well, they should be in lessons right now. It's Wednesday, so they'll probably be about for lunch soon enough. You might find them in one of the eating areas in about an hour's time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And I'll rejoin the rest of the group. I assume the magazines and the clay probably
About 3.
comes out to a little bit.
Yeah, little 3 gold, I would say, probably overall.
Do they have books?
There's a library if you want to go and read there. You can check books at the library, but only one at a time. Otherwise, if you want to buy books, no, you have to go off campus for that.
Okay. Would it be safe to say that I've brought a few books of my own?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay.
Okay. We have some time before lunch. Are any of you willing to just test each other out in a little bit of a spar, or should we go for meal preparations right away?
I was gonna say maybe. Okay, I'm just thinking this to myself. Oh, but saying it as Caliban, better to get some sustenance in us before leaping first, I would say.
You would think so, but you typically shouldn't go for an exercise right after a meal. So, if we do this more in the afternoon, we should go for a spa more in the afternoon then.
You know what?
But all right.
You and me. Since you were so... Consider this my showing of gratitude.
Absolutely no problem. I just find it important to figure out how we all work. We can figure out how to work together eventually.
We all have our shells.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
So, Caliban and Dayfair are going to spar. I assume you want to find an outside space, on the way to the dormitories to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. And are people going to watch this, or do other people have other things they want to sort out right now?
I will watch.
Okay.
I will also watch.
And you, Uther?
I'm gonna watch.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch. I'm wanting to do some reconnaissance later, but I'll watch this.
Out of character. Y'all just want to watch this guy get his...
Everyone,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
everyone
Very
is
confident.
everyone is dying to watch Caliban take a solid right cross to the chin. Okay. You guys find a little. It's sort of like an outdoor square where the ground is like stone, and then there's sand layered on top of it because it's easier to clean up if someone bleeds on sand. How do you want to do this? Are you standing a set distance apart? Set the scene for me. Is there any rules that you're gonna impart on each other?
I'm pretty much fine with whatever. I'm doing this not for some kind of winning or losing. I'm doing this so we can figure each other out, and how things could work together, etc. PP. This is purely an exercise in figuring out cooperation later on for me.
Okay. So no rules in particular, and you sort of just stand ready.
I would, however, however, make use of my tactical interface in order to see where I can, like, abuse some kind of lapse in judgment or the like.
Yeah, remind me, what is the ability of the interface? You have to make a check
Can
for that?
investigate an enemy for weakness with advantage.
Give me an investigation check with advantage, and then I need a deception check from you, please, Caliban.
Let's see, deception. Oh, there it is.
That's 15. That's an
Oh.
8. Caliban, what staggers you?
Hold on, let me find that real quick.
Of course.
I swear, I remember.
I remember setting it up. I can't remember off the top of my head what yours is either, so.
Damn. I had it somewhere.
Yeah, do you remember if it was a damage type or if it was a status? I think everyone went with a damage type, if I remember correctly. I have a weird feeling that yours was poison, Caliban, but I might be wrong.
I was poison. I
Ah,
don't know if Caliban is also poison.
Where did we all write this?
I don't know. I think people may have sent it to me in DMs. Let me
I
see.
put mine in my sheet.
Let me.
Ooh, I can't find any reference to the word stagger in our DMs.
Yeah, I was looking it up as well. I think I just wrote what it was.
Mm-hmm.
On my
Which is
sheet,
that
mine
is
is listed
weakness?
as restrained, so mine's a condition.
Oh, yours is a condition. Okay.
You don't like hugs.
I don't like feeling tied down. This is thematic.
Do you want to? I mean, if you don't have it right now, feel free to just give one, and if we want to change it in the future because we find out what it really was, then we'll shift it over in future, Rich.
Shit. I'll just go with force.
Force.
Like, for now.
Okay.
Was a forbid. Nah, that wasn't. No, was that a forbidden one?
I don't think so, but well, for now it's fine. You can see the with your tactical interface, taking a look at Caliban and Caliban's new shell hasn't quite bonded to it properly, and it is creating a weakness to basically just intense shell energy or otherwise magical energies would sort of disrupt their ability to move around and otherwise.
Yeah, which I take note of, but is not like anything I can exploit to like teach a lesson or something. Okay. So,
are you both already geared up weapon-wise? Are you're wearing yours right already, Dave? You've got your gauntlets on at all time.
yeah.
So you got big, heavy metal gauntlets and
Gotta be
boots.
all.
I would have had to pick up my. Weapon at some point.
In which case, what do you keep your weapon in, like a fancy case, Caliban, or
It's gonna have to be a fancy case.
it's like big, fancy, sort of like the kind of thing someone would keep a huge antique like flute in, opening it up. Do you want to describe the weapon to me?
It is. I can only describe as. It is a fencing weapon.
Mhm.
The
Like a rapier?
based. Yeah, a rapier, more closer to an S-stock.
Little bigger than a rapier, then.
Rounded out handguard, and a bits of what I can only describe as a metal, just like sticking out between the blade and the handguard.
And a
And-
trigger and a trigger guard as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It is a modernized version of Rider Palash from Bloodborne.
Okay. So we have someone very much big, bulky, equipped with big, heavy metal handguards and gauntlets, and then a more lithe, more finesse-based fencing weapon with a little bit of range to it. Do you two want to roll me initiative so I know which one of you makes the first move? We won't do a proper combat, but I want to know who to start this conversation with as everyone gathers around to watch.
I think I.
Oh,
I think...
one rule to add. I'm just gonna put this as self-imposed.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna use my firearm.
Okay.
Not for this time. Initiative.
Please and thank you.
I am double checking when the initiative advantage comes into play because I forgot when that happens. Yeah, okay, it's a normal roll for now.
Okay.
I rolled 6.17.
And Dafer got 19.12, much better roll. So basically, Caliban, you like get your weapon. You're checking your stance. You're making sure everything's. You're waiting for like the official who oversees the duel to like come out and announce all the rules and stuff. But that's not what this is. This is a nice friendly duel. And Dafer, you take the first step forward, sort of announcing that you're going to begin things. How would you go about attacking or otherwise getting into the guard of Caliban?
I mean, for me, this is also like a manner of like showcasing the stuff. I already have some of my focus abilities due to the rune that I have. So to showcase exactly that, I assume we're like 20-ish feet or less from one another.
Yeah, sure. You can be that close.
So I just like throw off 1-2 punch, like not overcharging or anything, just throwing like you see the gauntlets both glow and slow and short vibrate for a bit before I just give like 1-2 punch into the air in your direction, and you see the air vibrating and approaching you rapidly.
Okay.
That's the thrown attack.
Two concussive energy waves are coming at you, Caliban, from a short distance away. Just after you thought to yourself, I won't use the gun in this fight, you see these projectiles of energy coming towards you. How would you go about trying to avoid or otherwise block it?
I can see them coming, right?
You can see them coming, yeah. It's like a shimmering shockwave.
It's also loud, I'd assume.
Yeah, there's like the sound reaches you before the energy does.
Gonna try to like maneuver my way around them and just like try to approach as quickly as I can.
Give me an acrobatics check. We'll say with advantage, as you have the ability to sort of walk around it, and these are probing shots by your opponent at present.
Alrighty.
20. You sort of roll around the energy, wide footsteps getting around those shockwaves, and then like, are you flash stepping in, or is it like more of a like quick footwork approach? Like, what's the
just quick footwork? He's not gonna get too fancy.
Okay. Yeah, you watch him very like leaf on the wind, dodge out the way of the shockwaves, and very quickly close with you, Dafer. How do you want to respond to him suddenly being within melee fight range?
I mean, I would have likely expected him to respond. I would not have likely expected him to be so fast that he's immediately up in my face.
Yes.
So I would be taking a couple surprised steps backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I would be caught off guard enough to observe his weapon and his like stance to just go for try to either divert the sword or defend against an incoming attack, I assume.
Do you want to give me opposed attack checks? Whoever rolls higher on the attack, so if Caliban rolls higher, then the deflection of the attack doesn't quite go through.
Okay. Did I set myself up? Okay, yes, I did. There we go. That's
7.
Can I roll mine?
Yeah, go for it, Caliban. 19. As you bring your... gauntlet up and you're like, okay, a little bit shocked, take a couple of steps back, swing your big heavy gauntlets. You are used to far more nimble parries when you're crossing blades with someone, Caliban. You slip through, do graze across the energy of the shell that protects Dafer. How does that manifest for you? Because you've got special, like, protective gear. Is it like, is the weapon magnetized towards the metallic parts, like redirected, or is it an energy barrier, or what does that look like for you, Dafer?
It is pretty much an energy barrier. Like it's like a small wind shield. Like it's not like an actual hard shield or anything. You just feel your weapon slightly repelled whenever you come to like strike at Dafer, and that gets weaker the more you hit.
Yeah, so you feel like you're just about to land like a good solid blow, Caliban, when the shell like steps in, redirects your attack. It's a quite powerful redirection, sort of jerks your arm off in one way. More powerful than most shells would push away. I don't know if any of the three people watching would be looking out for anything in particular or otherwise want to do anything at this point, but the first kind of salvo of attacks has been exchanged between your classmates.
I'm gonna have a look just very quickly to see if like the duel has attracted attention from anyone.
You can see that right now there are people in classes, and up on the like windows you see a few people are at the window seat, so sort of half paying attention to their lesson, half looking out the window right now. So yeah, it definitely has. No one's come out or anything because most people are confined to the classroom at present, but it has drawn some attention.
Clara's gonna lean over to Uther, and it seems like there are a couple of people watching what's going on.
Request you two. I'm going to just kind of call out to the two in the ring. Let's not be too flashy. We have audiences.
You two kind of take a step back from each other, reset. You hear what Uther says as there's a lull in the fight for a second as you guys kind of exchange that first attack between the two of you. I don't know if there's anything in particular you want to do in response to that, or whether you'd like to just keep going, or what is it you'd like to do?
Let's give them a good show.
Caliban hears Uther's instructions and just 180 flips. It's like, okay, I'll be flashier.
I'd assume if
Well,
you
I
go
tried.
for like another like stronger, I assume like you flip off and then go for another very aggressive new attack because like that seems flashy. Would that be correct?
Yeah, Caliban, are you going in again?
Going in for another attack.
Okay. Following that same line, just strikes out again, Dafer.
Seeing that in anticipation and in order to like show off essentially mutual capabilities so that we can get used to them, yada yada yada, he would trigger his overload.
Okay.
Which essentially the previously not all that visible shields that were around him from his shell now become a fair bit more intense and not insanely visible, but definitely more visible than they were before. The runes on the gauntlets and the boots start glowing a little bit, well, noticeably, and there does seem to be a higher level of energy today than there was before. Having activated that, I tried to counter essentially.
Yeah, so once again attacking with Reckless this time, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay, then yeah, once again come in with Noblesse Oblige, and then Sooner will be at advantage this time.
Advantage from my end?
No, sorry, advantage for Dafer.
Both ends.
Oh, yeah, true. You would both have advantage because of the reckless manner of the attack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
This time, this burst of energy, you're expecting a certain level of speed and reactiveness, having seen Dafer move before. This time, as reckless as Dafer was, there's more strength, more energy to everything about him. It's like the shield is more obvious, the attack has more force behind it, does catch you, and sort of, well, give me a Constitution check, Caliban. Or save.
Check.
Save if you're proficient is fine. 8. Wham! You get caught by the shockwave. Your vision spins slightly, and you do find yourself dizzied a little bit. Dafer Caliban is on the back foot after that sudden burst in strength behind you. I don't know if you want to follow up or give them a second, or...
I don't follow up. I do, however, shout at tell him, or not shout, but like just give him a notice. Try to focus on somebody else other than me. This will as like not tauntingly, it's just to inform him that he like should notice that this does something to him. As one of the abilities of this shell is that he should, like, his focus somehow invariably keeps being drawn to me as opposed to anyone else.
Yeah.
Which I think is obvious when you, like, are in the effect.
Yeah, Caliban, the moment they say this and you, like, turn to look around at maybe the people might be watching or the others there, you find your gaze, like, inexplicably drawn back to him over and over again. It's difficult to think about aggressing or doing anything else like that to anyone other than to Dafer. It's sort of like, again, that, like, magnetized, pushed feeling is more on your psyche than just your physical like, abilities right now.
Try to shake that off.
Yeah, you shake your head trying to, like, clear that mental effect on you, but the two of you have separated once again. I don't know whether you want to keep going in the same way, Caliban, or whether you'd like to try something a little different this time, or entirely up to you.
Not really. I'm just gonna stick with the old reliable, just hit him again harder.
This time, expecting what's coming through, you just put more focus, more poise, more intent into the attack, since you can't focus anywhere else anyway. Dafer, you see them try and shake off that effect, but again, come in to attack you. I don't know if there's a different response this time after sort of showing off your overcharge, whether there's anything more you'd like to do, or...
I think I'll let that one land this time, and just tell him, try something like, come on, Caliban. We're supposed to get to know each other here. Try something new.
You strike, and the shield is harder this time to push through, you notice, Caliban. This overcharge seems to have affected that as well. But yeah, Dafer has obviously invited a challenge to you.
Cheeky bastard. So just make like a normal attack.
It's up to you whether you want to just keep striking at him anyway to see if you can get past this barrier that's been put up, or whether you want to try and, like, break line of sight with him briefly to try and get, like, a cheeky quick strike in, or if there's some other method of trying to get one over on Dafer you'd like to try.
I don't know what the effect is. Maybe like try to deduce what that is, like what's causing it.
Yeah, it just seems to be him releasing more energy from the shell all at once. It's obviously going to be exhausting for him, like, later down the line, but right now there's no obvious way around it, other than to, like, find some way of breaking his concentration or otherwise interrupting that flow that he's got.
Let's see. Caliban is going to try to go for a strike, but it's going to be like an upward strike from the ground towards Dafer. Maybe like throw up some dirt, get it like into his face.
Yeah. Do you want to give me... I think that's probably a sleight of hand or stealth check. I'm fine with either.
Sleight of hand into a sneak attack? If
I,
you have
I think so, yeah.
I do not have sneak
Okay.
attack, but
okay.
It's a sneak attack in the traditional sense.
okay.
Not the mechanical sense.
Yeah, I'll try sleight of hand.
Go for it. I think in response, can I get a perception check from you, please, Dafer?
Okay.
Ooh.
The dirt comes up. Dafer, you're not expecting it from Caliban. It does take you slightly off guard, but you're still able to peer through the veil. Caliban, do you want to roll your attack? And if there's anything else you want to add to it, let me know.
I'll just strike again.
Okay. 7, as Dafer, your hardened energy shield, the attack still sort of like ricochets off of it. The repeated strikes are beginning to wear down the barrier. You notice despite the more diminutive than you size that Caliban has, there's some strength behind each of these blows. It's a big sword that he's kind of wielding with precision.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely jotting that down. And think for showcase, like I want him to show off more than that. I'm just wondering whether it makes sense to keep insisting on that or not. Now I think I'll go for like that strike pushes me, like as small as it was, it pushes me slightly out of my balance.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say.
Yeah.
And I use that to essentially like I feel myself like falling over backwards essentially, but I use that to essentially do a kickflip. No, not kickflip. Like go onto, like jump onto my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And
A
use
handspring.
that to essentially kick with my boots, essentially attacking with a later.
Okay. Give me an attack with later. 14, and like you managed to knock him backwards, Caliban, kind of off kilter, but then this quick kick comes out. I don't know how you want to react to that kick coming through.
Just like move my head out of the way.
Uh,
Or just body it wherever he heads.
yeah, I think that's probably another acrobatics check.
Alrighty. Just like contesting that with the attack roll.
With the 14, yeah. 12. Unfortunately, Caliban, you do get sort of clipped by it. It does graze across your own shell barrier as well. You can feel that Dafer is more willing to put more on the line than you right now, Caliban. You can feel this, like, urge to hold back. I don't know whether there's anything you'd like to change about that, but otherwise it seems like the course of this spar would sort of result in the gradual wearing down of yourself from the tactics of Dafer at present. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to try differently, or whether you're happy to just let the spar sort of go on as it is and eventually probably take a small loss against Dafer here.
That would be the reasonable thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I am playing Caliban.
True. What would you like to do?
And this is a wound to Caliban's pride.
Yes.
And he will not let that stand.
To your head.
So he will fight until one of them is either on the ground or in the ground.
Are you using action surge at that point, or are you holding that back?
I'm gonna go for an action surge. Yeah, sure.
2 quick attacks.
Just an attack on top of the one I already made.
Yeah, roll 2 attacks right now.
Oh.
21? 22. David, as you do your flip, you come back up. You're expecting to see them sort of stumble. There is a flurry of motion that even the quick Caliban, you have not seen him move this quickly before. Where there should be one strike, there are two, and both seem to come from different directions at the same time, despite the fact that's physically impossible. You see two blades moving towards you. How do you want to respond?
I think I don't have the reflexes to properly, decently respond to this. I have not ingrained. I've not seen someone move as quickly as Caliban before. I'm of the type okay, slowly and carefully and methodically mantling down people, and that's what I've fought before. Not somebody as nimble as Caliban. So I think I just throw myself essentially against one attack so the other misses.
Okay, I think, give me a just give me a damage roll for one of those attacks so I know exactly how much that would put through.
Yeah, sure, I'll go with this one.
Don't worry about taking the damage. Okay, it's a pretty big hit. As you throw yourself at one of the blades, the other one obviously, it still connects slightly against the barrier as it's a more solid protection now, but the other one hits, and it hits hard. Dayford, you do end up probably tumbling from that because you'd already put yourself slightly off kilter to do the kick, so you do end up hitting the dirt. I don't know whether you guys want to class that as Caliban's win at that point, or how you want to manage it from there, but yeah, you do find yourself kind of kissing, landing backwards into the sand at that point.
I'm pretty happy having gotten at least something out of him in terms of how he works, how he does his combat. That's I've received information that I can work with. However, just as a small side note, I am on the ground. However, he is in foot range, I assume.
Yes.
So while on the ground, I essentially try to attack a bonus action attack to
trip him.
Foot sweeps.
Yeah. Athletics versus acrobatics between the two of you.
I would still be in overload, so
you do have advantage due to overload, yeah.
Okay.
So that's a 10.
Fuck.
Natural 1. I think Caliban, in this moment, you're I have won. And then you feel your center of gravity shift from underneath you, and the two of you are led on the sand side by side, looking up at the sky. The wind kind of knocked out of the both of you as you lay there. Spar over, winded, just kind of looking up at the sky above.
Edgar is laughing and clapping her hands.
We should have brought popcorn for this one.
They certainly know how to commit to something, I'll give them that.
What's popcorn?
It's corn. You know corn, right?
Special
Yes.
variety of corn. You throw a little bit of oil and some heat to it, and it turns itself inside out.
She is perplexed by this thought.
We'll have to show you later.
I get up and offer a hand to help up Caliban.
Caliban stands up on his own.
We knew it was coming.
Everyone knew.
None too flummoxed by that. Some nice
So,
sword
did
work
anyone break anything?
there. We're all good. We're all good. Nice sword work there. Impressive. And thanks for committing a bit more. That gives me something to work with if we fight together.
Well, at least one of us was holding back.
I feel like I'm calling somewhat, as a character, I'm calling somewhat bullshit on that one. Alright.
You watch as the growing audience sort of peters out at this point. The eyes start drifting back to their lessons, but you probably had about 9 or 10 different sets of eyes looking out the window towards you during that. Different people from different classes, idly taking an interest in the new group.
I assume we weren't all that impressive a display overall. Just less boring than lessons.
I think it depends on the year you're in, obviously. But I think if you're a third year, there's some interest in watching the new crop come through, right? Because there's always a little bit of interest in what might be happening in the... I don't know how to describe it.
Them flail.
Yeah. To some degree, definitely. All right. Dusting yourselves off. What next? Are you heading to your dorms, or if you got somewhere else you want to be, the workshops or otherwise?
I'm gonna turn to the two who are sat either side of me. Well, I think those two should probably go and clean themselves up. But I think we've got some snooping to do.
Love the way you think.
Other class?
It makes the most sense. It's good to know what you're up against. They've already given something away, but... Well, it was... it was a suggestion. That's what Uther thinks, and I happen to agree. And you're quick and quiet, right?
Yes. Yes, I am.
So, between the three of us, we should manage to scrounge up something useful.
Of course.
So, the real question is, how do we find them?
Well, we're looking for first years, so timetabled classes, people who look younger. We could maybe ask a professor and just pretend that we're lost, or that we get to deliver something.
Hendra, I don't suppose that, we would only have our timetable. We wouldn't have, the year's timetable, would we?
You do know that all of the first years have lunch at the same time. It's a staggered lunch. The first, second, and third years have different periods for that. So you can see that that's coming up. You also know where the dormitories for the first years are and where the nearest outdoor eating area is to that. And it's quite a nice day. So I think you could put together they might be there. That's a good first port of call. When it comes to noon, they'll probably be somewhere around there, or at least walk through there if they're heading back to their dorms to eat. Elsewise, no, you don't have a detailed list of where they are right now, what classes or anything like that.
Okay. What do we think? Check the outdoor eating areas first, and then make our way towards the buildings?
That sounds good.
Wise to me.
And then Caliban and Dafer, are you carrying everyone's stuff, all the food and stuff they bought back to the pantry in the dorms for them, or what do you want to do?
I would have assumed we... near our dorms are the showers, I assume. While we're on the way. Makes sense?
So yeah, if people want to hand off any of the food stuff that they bought to, I suppose, Dafer, I don't think Caliban would carry anything. Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
He doesn't want to get his very smooth hands
Part of the
dirty.
village needs to carry his weight. So I hand him I'm aware that he's lithe and thus not all that able to carry stuff. But out of the 5 portions of food we have, I still hand him 2.
You were given a single bag of grain or something, Caliban.
Caliban tries to consider how far he could throw this bag at Dafer.
What's your strength score, huh?
You've got Dafer with a bag of flour over one shoulder, a bag of grain over the other, and then other stuff piled up on top, and then Caliban with his arms around one bag of something, rice or something, just carrying it like a child or something like that in front of him.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys start heading towards the dorms. Those of you heading towards the eating areas, the bell rings to announce it's lunchtime. Are you going about this in like super sneaky stealth manner? Like, are you trying not to be seen at all? Or is this more of a like, let's just see if we can get a glimpse of them type thing? What's the...
I'm going to try to blend into the crowd of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a sudden rush of like combat and non-combat students at this point.
Same. I'll go with a middling ground of stealth, just making myself part of the crowd.
Yeah, stealth in a more blending in sense than not being seen at all. Do you all want to give me a stealth check then together as a group?
Sure.
Let's go team.
22, 24. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
I'm scared. I fucked it up. I fucked it up.
They balance out.
I will say that the natural 20 and the natural 1 do balance out, and that leaves us with Clara, who does succeed. Are you wearing... You're not wearing your mask right now, are you, Uther? You're just got like the big nerd glasses on, right? Yeah, cool.
It's big nerd glasses, the big red scarf.
Yeah.
That does not go with the blue and silver sweater.
As you're trying to blend into the group, the wind catches your scarf, like blows up in like this huge display of red, which Adhira, how do you want to deal with that? This sudden display of red that you would like not so much there. You can just like grab it and pull it down, or however you want to handle it.
Yeah, just very quick hands, reach up with 2 fingers and just sort of yank the scarf down. and holds it there. As
you pull it down below like the head height of the group that you're sort of merging with. Are you like listening for people talking about having to fight the new class tomorrow, or are you asking people around you like, oh, where's class 2? Like, how do you want to... Are you trying to just snoop, or...
Actually, that's a question I don't know the answer to. Do we reckon that they're going to be like our size? Because our classroom had 30 seats in it. Like, is class 2 going to be like 30 people and we're just going to get some of them?
I would assume they would have to like pick representatives of the class to make it not just 30v5.
So
yeah.
Classes are 4 combat students, and then the rest of them are the workshop students, the like medical students.
The support team.
So a good like 20 people in the class are non-combatants. So there should be 4 people you're actually looking for most classes in a year.
Oh, so it's unfair in the other direction.
Yeah, you guys technically have 1 more, but they do have a month of training on you.
I suppose we should just like go and... I reckon if we just turn up and like mill around, people will come to us because we're new. If we do a good job of standing around looking lost. I'm gonna go do a good job of standing around looking lost.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I was thinking that it's... Didn't he say that it was from the group that was only 1 month ahead of us?
Well, everyone's 1 month ahead of you. You're starting a month late, technically.
I will watch, keep an eye on Clara and the people who go...
So you're gonna hang back and keep an eye on Clara, who's gonna try and, like, essentially draw the attention of maybe, like, someone who knows a little bit more about the campus who wants to help her out, basically. Okay. And then, Uther.
Pick someone in the crowd and talk to them then.
Alright, picking someone at random, seems to be a second year, probably one of the workshop students, you think, looking at some of the, like, accompaniments, little bits of gear on them that they have. Just trying to look at you, says, sorry, what was your question?
Oh, I've got a project with another class. I'm just trying to find them, just in general.
Oh, what class?
2.
Okay. Well, the dorms are just there.
Uh-huh.
Is there... Are you looking for one of them in particular, or...?
I assume if I can just find them in general, I can find who I need. Yeah, I just got to get there first.
Well, one of them, Bright Red Everything, goes by Ruru. I don't know their real name. Everyone just uses their nickname, so that's a good one to look out for. There's also that kid that all the other ones call the Chosen One. Big black scarf, doesn't like to show his face too much, kind of golden looking hair. And I think one of the class members of Class 2 is actually the nephew of the headmistress by the name of Niall.
So, Bright Red Beacon, cult leader, nepotism hire. Got it.
It like stumbles over that a little bit. It just says, yeah, definitely Bright Red.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
Meanwhile, Clara, standing around trying to look lost, you do see perhaps another third year. He is wearing a red dyed clothing. It's kind of like shorts, but with a shorter skirt built into them as well. A cropped jacket, but bare-chested, so his like muscles are on show. Think like Sun Wukong, but with more red clothing. And yeah, it does have a bow staff, who catches you standing there looking, you know, slightly off kilter, and then just says, "Are you lost?"
I can't really say no, can I? I don't look like I know where I'm going.
Can I help you then? I don't think I've seen you before.
You wouldn't have. Clara, Lux Maddox. I transferred in. I'm part of the new class, 10.
My name's Delphin. I've not heard of a class 10, but it would be weird if you were lying.
We started today, actually. I believe we're full of people who got admitted really late. At least, I did. We were told to come and have a look around. I thought maybe getting to know some of the other first years might be a good start.
That's a great idea. Do you just want me to introduce you to, like, class 1 or something?
Well, which class are you?
Oh, I'm part of, well, I'm technically a second year. I'm in class 5.
Oh, my teacher told me to start with class 2. Apparently we're doing something together tomorrow.
Makes sense. He kind of stands up on the staff slightly to get some height over the crowds, and then points over in the distance and says, yo, the girl with the 2 katanas, who's, like, paper white, you know, looks like she needs more sun, she's definitely part of class 2.
Oh, thank you. I take it you don't know her well enough to introduce us.
I think she's called Casper, but we've never spoke.
Clara blinks. As in, like, that's her actual name, or is that a nickname?
Caspar. Casper.
Great. Thank you for your help. Sorry, Delphin, was it?
Mm-hmm. I'm from Zogan.
Oh, I'm from Heaven's Pillars.
Whoa! I don't think I've met anyone from there. Or maybe I have, but no one said anything.
There aren't many of my homelanders out here. It's kind of a touchy subject at the moment.
I think there's a street or something, but that's not in I2 where you can get a bunch of food from up that way. It's more in the north of the city, though.
I've been there before. It's really quite good. Very accurate.
That's cool. I'm always looking for new food.
Maybe we could go sometime. I'll show you all the best things.
That would be amazing. Always up for a guided tour of a cuisine.
Perfect. Thank you for your help.
Good luck on your first day?
Yes.
Fair enough. And then he just kind of stumbles off into the crowd and shouts after one of the workshop kids as he's like, I need you to look at this again, it's broke. And just kind of runs off with this shattered looking crystal in his grip.
I shall start making my way over to Casper, the not so friendly ghost.
I will follow from a distance.
Okay, still keeping an eye from a distance. And what about you, Uther? You can see that Clara has started making headway towards someone.
I'm going to tail the tail, if that makes sense. Not following her, I'm going to slightly follow it here.
Okay, the three of you in train. Getting closer, the individual in question does start to come into view, Clara. Let me show you what they look like. Mostly leg, if I'm honest with you, and then otherwise a mixture of like business attire or like more formal school uniform, and then white kind of bob hair as well. At present is running through kind of like katana drills while absentmindedly talking to a couple of people that are nearby. But yeah, she's like just going through like overhead swings and other bits and pieces like that, basic drills at present.
I'm gonna wait until she looks not that busy.
Yeah, she takes a quick break as someone bright red hair hands her like a big bag of what appear to be hard-boiled sweets. And then she kind of stops for a second.
Hello?
Turns, looks at you and says, Hey, have we met?
No. This is my first day. I've heard you guys are also first years.
That would be correct. I thought, oh, you're the class 10, right?
Yeah, I heard you guys are class 2.
That would be correct. You're well informed for your first day, I suppose.
I ask good questions, I think. Casper, right?
Yes, yeah, that's what everyone calls me.
Would you prefer me to call you something else?
No, it's fine. It's just hard for some people to say the full name, and I fully respect that, so.
Why? Where are you from?
I'm not, in a sense. I'm from Empress City, but my parents are more, shall we say, do-or-die Zemessians rather than more modern Parisians, so.
Sure. My name's Clara. I won't leave you at a disadvantage.
I think I read about you in the paper.
Oh. Yeah, you might have.
It's cool. Most of the stuff printed in that stuff is drivel anyway, so, I mean, I just took the fact your name and, you know, where you're from, and, I'm sorry for what happened.
I appreciate the apology. There's nothing I can do about it, so. Anyway,
Yes.
I've heard we're supposed to do something with your class tomorrow.
Haven't been told yet, but, what, some sort of joint spar, or?
I didn't hear. Our teacher just mentioned that we should probably get to know some of the people in class too. So I asked around, your name came up.
Oh, well, this is Ruru, and she puts her arm around, what is, like, a quite short, compared to her, woman with, short red hair, kind of messy in all directions, hoodie over the top, unzipped, and then what appears to be like a band shirt underneath. Bright red irises as well as they look at you. And they offer you a bag of confectionery.
Oh, thank you. Clara's gonna take one.
It is, you can see a brand on it. It says Conservatory Confectionery on it. And it is like some sort of, either like a hard-boiled sweet or maybe like a stick of rock sort of thing.
These are interesting. Thank you, Ruru.
You're welcome. I mean, they're really sweet, but I like that.
Me too. There's got to be more of you in your class, right? Are the others busy?
Niall tends to eat alone. They do this whole ceremony thing with tea and things like that. They like the peace and quiet. And Andrus is over there. They point over to where there is a gaggle of female students surrounding one individual who is sat eating a sandwich. And they are all, like, gathered around him talking to him.
Wow, popular.
Yeah. Not sure he likes it so much, but he is.
How long have you guys been together? Like, the start of the year?
Yeah, about a month. Although Niall and Ruru know each other from different school in the city. Just, you know.
You guys were at another school?
Ruru nods and just says, not for combat, mind you. I don't think Niall ever really intended on enrolling here until the beginning of the year, but yeah, we go slightly, well, not way back, but slightly back.
So I suppose you have more than a month of training. Well, kind of.
I was
Team cohesion.
I was studying medicine. Niall was studying, I think, linguistics. But we both did a bit of a pivot, and we're here now.
What made you change your mind, if you don't mind me asking?
It's complicated, but home stuff mostly. My parents were Empress Knights, and unfortunately, one of them passed recently, and let's just say their legacy sort of inspired me. I thought I'd be saving people one way, but I've decided to save people another.
It's very noble. I'm sure they'd be proud.
Thanks. I like to think so.
I don't know where the rest of my class has gone. Otherwise, I'd introduce you.
That's fine. I mean, we'll get to know each other tomorrow, one way or another, right?
I suppose so.
Standing off to the side, still sort of keeping my distance, can I get any insight into how these people work or fight alongside each other? Who seems the strongest? Who seems like of weak constitution, etc., etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me, focus on one person and give me an insight check. So you've got, obviously Niall isn't here, but you've got Andrus, Casper, and Ruru.
I think Ruru is the one who's, talking a lot. I think she's the one that Adhira zeroes in on. Okay.
Go ahead and give me an insight check. Surprisingly durable, looking at Ruru. Like, you're looking at the shell and the sort of energy that's shimmering over the top of Chiruru. You notice that it's pretty... You get a similar feeling to, like, Dafer's sturdiness. There's a little bit less, physicality behind that and a lot more speed. They're, like, somewhere between Caliban and Dafer. You also note they have what appears to be like an SMG on one hip and a tonfa on the other. So they use two different kinds of weapon in a fight. You do notice that as well. You notice also at the waist a series of specialized different ammo casings, although you can't make out what the specialized ammo is. But you can tell that they use like special bullets or something like that. Like they have one-shot burst things that they can clip into their weapon.
Okay.
I don't know if Uther would be doing something similar or whether...
Yeah.
Is either Andrus or Casper?
I think I would catch on that Ruru is being studied, Casper is being talked to, so I will see what I can figure from Andrus.
Yeah. Andrus. Andrus. Give me an insight check.
Insight. Not one of my better ones. Yep, no.
Not just your kind of difficulty seeing him at this point, but Andrus is quite reserved, you notice. For someone with this much attention, very shy, very withdrawn. They literally, like, pull a scarf up after they take each bite of the sandwich. Like, pull it down, eat, pull it up. They don't really talk too much, but, like, nod and say, like, single words. What you do notice is most people's shell energy is like something you can like pick up on, like an ambient sort of feeling from it. Andrus's energy is sort of like, there have been some people you've met in your life, Uther, especially coming from the sort of line of work that you were studying for before, who get into protective roles. These people have like what they call guardian angels, which are like divine spirits or otherwise celestial beings that either inhabit their body or otherwise literally follow them around. It's not quite as potent as that as some of the people you've come across before, but there's like a slight feeling of like vague divinity from this individual's shell energy.
Interesting. Concerning and interesting. Alright.
But I believe it sounds like, Clara, you're being left there to have this conversation. I don't know if there's anything in particular else you'd want to add, or whether you want to do something similar and try and get some insight into Casper as you're talking to them, or...
Yeah, I might as well while I'm here.
Yeah, give me an insight check.
Insight is here.
15. Give me 1 second. The general overarching theme of all of them is they are quite sturdy. Like, all of them have pretty heavy armor shells. All of them have deep reserves of, like, physical resilience to them. Casper in particular has 2 katanas, but you notice one of them is never drawn out. It's just always at their waist. They've got one in their hand that they use in particular. In addition to that, there's like a poise to them, a samurai spirit to them, essentially. This sort of like reserve of Bushido spirit, this like energy that they can pull from beyond just the shell that they are using as well.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
After like a little while of making small talk, Clara's gonna excuse herself and make an excuse about like unpacking or something, which she probably also needs to do.
Probably true, yeah. Yeah, you pull away.
I'm gonna start making a way towards our dorms and like wait behind a corner where I'm out of sight of like where those guys are eating, and just hope that the others follow me.
Yeah. You guys can all reconvene if you wish to.
Yes,
I'm gonna
please.
wait like an appropriate amount of time after people start moving to not make it look like we're all leaving at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Fidgeting with a ball of clay or something. But yeah, I'll eventually catch up.
Well, it wasn't the most elucidating conversation, but I have 3 out of 4 of them. The other one's called Niall, apparently, but I don't know where he is. Something about a tea ritual. They seem friendly, but they don't actually seem to know each other that well. Oh, and the red one. She's a medic. Or was a medic. Priority target, if you ask me.
Well, they have only each other for about a month.
I'm just going to throw out there, I approve of the priority target thought process. The one with the scarf has some kind of divinity attached to him, so... Just throwing that out there as a concern.
The woman with the sweets, and the red hair and red everything, she seems sturdy. Also, compact gun with various different ammo and a tonfa, I believe.
The weapon, yeah. They're all pretty sturdy from what I could tell. Heavy armor, nice reserves. It's gonna be tough. We'd have to exploit something. There are more of us than there are of them.
If we can focus one, we can continue to press that advantage.
Walking.
Well, either way, I don't think we're gonna get much more from just staring.
No. Probably too early in the year to try our luck breaking into someone's office and getting paperwork, though.
Might be a step too far, for me, personally. This is only a friendly spa.
True, I guess. Fine.
Come on, we should go relay this to the others.
Meanwhile, yeah, Dayfra Caliban, having reached the dorms with your various cargo, opening the door up, which requires you to, like, basically present your crystal card to a similar looking crystal pad on the door, and the door unlocks. Leaning into it, you open it up. You find at present there are 3 people actually in the common area of the dorm as you walk in, who kind of glance up. Presumably all second years, as you are staying in a second year dorm. One individual in quite formal attire sat reading a newspaper, hair slicked over in a sort of more like emo-ish hairstyle over one eye, and is half reading a newspaper and half watching a chess match between what I can only describe as like a stereotypically goth guy who has some like latent, could be a vampire energy to them. Like as you're looking at them, you're like, maybe a vampire. And then across from them, a more punkish girl, like biker jacket, shaved one side of head, pink hair streak matching pink irises. But the two of them, the gothic girl and the punk girl, are playing chess at present between the two of them. But they glance up, and the girl says, "Hey, you must be class 10.
Did we already deliver our foodstuffs to the?
No, you've like literally just walked through the door with like all these things in tow.
Okay, so like with both of my shoulders full. Oh, yeah, we are. Mind if we go to the storage room first? Just to put this down, get a second.
She kicks the guy in the leg who's reading the newspaper and says, "Show him the way. You're not doing anything." And he sighs, folds up the newspaper, tucks it in like the little side of the armchair he's sitting in, stands up, looks at you, and says, "My name's Seth. It's nice to meet you. Follow me."
Hey, Seth. Name's... okay.
He just kind of like walks off, expects you to follow without really checking if you are. The kitchen's open plan, so it looks out onto the shared area, and then there's a door on the left-hand side that sort of like leads you to, and like shows you where to put your various stuff, and the fact that it's segmented off, like everyone has a different area for their different things.
In that case, I put most stuff down, get enough Yeah, I can do it later. I'd still grab some of the dried meat for a snack right now to like get something in me until I had the chance to cook myself lunch. Yeah, and then join the foursome in the communal area with the
Crazy.
chess match.
He helps you kind of find where to put stuff, and as you're about to leave, he looks at you, Caliban, and says, I recognize you, don't I?
It depends. To whom am I speaking to?
Well, I'm Seth Cole, second year here, class 5.
Do I recognize the last name?
Not really.
Seth Cole. I assume the Halleck family has been a bit more prolific.
That's it. I think I did a request for one of your parents at some point. Must have caught you when I was dropping something off at their house.
Is that so?
He stands there awkwardly for a moment, just kind of looking at you and says, so, why bother joining up? Isn't your life pretty much sorted?
I have obligations. Beyond just counting. Well, beyond just the silver spoon in my mouth.
Yeah, at least you admit it. Kind of pats you on the shoulder. Go on, let's meet the others.
How it just like looks at like where he was patted and he's like, okay, whatever.
He gestures at the other two who are still playing chess. Points at the more punkish girl and says, this is Tamara, and Noctis is the guy.
Nice to meet you, Noctis and Tamara.
Seth, Tamara, Noctis. Okay.
Tamara kind of says hi to you at the same time she puts a piece down, looks at Noctis and says, checkmate. You can see the thinly veiled disgust at yet another loss on Noctis's face.
Hold on. Can I see like how... Is there a way to save it? I want to see.
No, looking down, that's it. That was the final move in the game. She's literally like... you looking at the board state, do you play a lot of chess? Do you have like proficiency in it or anything like that before I give it away, Caliban?
I do not.
No, okay. Give me a straight intelligence check looking at the board.
Alrighty. Straight intelligence check. Wow, okay.
Looking at it, it seems one-sided to you. It seems like Tamara definitely had the victory no matter what. That's the only thing you can really pick up on is that she had this.
I'm just imagining just like Caliban not knowing about chess, just like looking over, yeah, looks like she's winning.
There's a lot more pieces of her color than the other side. He thinks boldly to himself. Tara looks up at you and says, your rooms are all labeled and stuff. They got your names on, so shouldn't really be too difficult to figure out. Keys are on the counter over there. The card only works for the front door.
Ah, perfect.
I was using, you Dafer, right? I was using your room for practice, so you might find some instruments in there. I'll get them gone by the weekend.
It's fine.
No, it's a pretty big drum kit. She clarifies, like, she's like, it takes up a lot of floor space, but I promise you, it'll be gone fairly quickly. We didn't get much warning you'd be here.
I'm somewhat surprised at how apparently abrupt all of this was. When I came here, I thought it would be more long-term planned. Planned.
Noctis, for the first time, kind of speaks up, looks at you and says, "Did you not hear about the Council of Judges' decree?"
I'm from Dulocop. Essentially, I'm from the boons in Dulocop. We don't get news, we survive.
I see. Well, they have put a lot of pressure on our headmistresses of late as to how many EKs are put through the school each year. She's been attempting to limit the number. The rates of fall off were quite heavy after graduation. She's trying to put a stop to that, but it seems counter to some of the judges' ideas. So I guess you're the stopgap to shut them up.
Not sure what to think of that.
He shrugs and says, "So long as you take your studies seriously, I promise you the headmistress will not fail you. She's a good woman."
With somewhat of a smile of like a teasing smile on Daver's face. Good, isn't she? Aren't you a tad too young to speak of her as a good woman in that sense? As apparently, I assume he is like 18 talking that way about someone that is like 35 and up.
I will have you know that my soul is far older than my mind.
I like give him a pat on the back. Sure, buddy. Sure.
Tamara sits back with a big smile on her face, like, this is great. I don't even have to tease him anymore. Someone else has this. This is, I can just...
I assume whatever teasing happens in here is something I'll eventually regret in the ring or something.
Oh, yes, well, I'm sure Noctis will win in a fight, but right now he seems quite thoroughly defeated. Speaking of which, another game? And she's like, starts setting up the board before he answers. She looks up at you and says, "Some of the others are already out. Delphin is trying to head to the workshop, get something fixed, I think. There aren't too many of us in this dorm, to be honest, but Verity should be about somewhere. I think it's her turn to cook for us tonight." And you see the look on both Seth and Noctis's face, this like, oh God, like why do we agree to this rota sort of like look on their face?
Sorry, this. Can you repeat that last line?
Yeah. They seem like when they say Verity's cooking tonight, both of their expressions sink. Both Noctis and Seth are like,
oh God. If
They're scared for their lives.
If it's any resolution I can, if it saves you the trouble, I planned on cooking enough for a couple people anyway. Lentils with onion, garlic, and meat, and some spices.
Seth looks at you and says, "That sounds better than schlop." Tamara, like, rubs her chin and says, "Maybe we can sell it to Verity as, you guys wanted to make a good first impression. That way we don't have to tell her it's because of cooking." And then a shorter girl walks into the room, pigtails that are kind of bound into, like, hoops, essentially, off of her hair. Goes, "Oh, hi, Verity." She kind of springs forward, puts her hand out towards you.
Hey, Verity. I like pick her hand. If she's this small, like given the size difference, is her hand essentially like half the size of mine?
Yeah. Her hand disappears in yours, and she's full on like head tilt to look up at you, Dayfra. She's a little under 5 foot tall, I would probably say.
God, I've made Dafer go for like 2 meters. So like
She's
six, I think.
kind of like between blonde and pink hair, like big wings on her makeup with a deeper red around the eyes, and then a more like stylish hoodie, soft blues, and some like stripes on it. Actually, let me just...
Verity Danzig.
I'm Verity. I'm cooking for everyone else today. So if you want something, Tamara then like chimes in immediately and says, actually, Dafer here was just saying that he would be willing to cook for all of us to say hi and to introduce himself. Verity kind of frowns and says, but they're technically guests, right? We should do something for them. The three of them look at each other, kind of like silently communicating on how to argue back. As there's like a silent discussion as they look amongst each other. Seth just kind of quietly chimes in with, well, we're obviously going to show them around, Verity, so just let them have this one. Hmm?
I was gonna say, like, have you considered both cooking?
Verity like opens her eyes wide and says, yes, let's cook together. Dafer, wasn't it?
Yeah. I try to keep an eye on my diet, so I plan to have like a mixture of lentils and meat tonight with some veggies.
Yeah, no, sounds good. I'll help you then if you've got special dietary requirements.
Perfect.
At this point, I think the door would open and the rest of you would arrive if you were heading this way.
Wow.
Oh, hey you guys.
Beaming voices.
Busy in here.
The 4 second years would introduce themselves, obviously.
Just so I know for how many, do any of you plan to, like pointing at my party members, not at the at the second year group, do any of you plan to have lunch together? I was planning on making my lentil meat meal originally for myself, but if we're all going to do this as a group, we can do it.
If so, we can pay you back in resources and just save everyone else the time and effort.
It's free. Just, I don't know, hand me a spice pack once in a while and we're good.
I already have all
We'll do
this
what we
stuff,
can.
but I can make my salad big enough to go on the side.
That would be perfect.
There's room for 3 in the kitchen, Verity will say.
It's fine. I can leave it to the experts. I'm sure you guys are more than capable of cutting up some leaves, and I don't want to be in the way.
Oh, let me get my special knives. She kind of bounds off towards her room.
I'm not going to ask
You'll be,
questions
like-
about that.
Dafer is like
I am.
special knives.
I am. She's not going to the kitchen for her knives. I have questions about the cleanliness.
Seth says it's fine. They're just blunted on the back half. She kept cutting her fingers.
And she's cooking for you guys?
4 pained smiles.
What a lovely gesture.
So who wants gossip?
To share it over dinner? Lunch.
Well, it's more directly involved with what we're doing tomorrow, so that's why I was bringing it up.
We did some
Sure.
snooping.
Did you snoop?
Someone
successfully? Because-
thinks we shouldn't break in and steal student records.
It's not even halfway through your first day, and you're already talking about breaking major rules. You're not going to last here if you keep going like that.
Tamara high fives
We
you
don't-
immediately, Uther.
Yeah, there's a sideways glance, like sort of sent, like I also
Listen,
What?
I have
spar,
not.
Uther.
That's what I
From what I've
said.
seen, of the rules, it's technically getting into the location would probably be more of a problem than having the documents. I'm just saying.
You need to pick your battles.
I do. That's
This
why I
is
want
not
the
a
information.
matter of life and death. This is not worth risking anything for us as a group.
Well, seeing as how one of them has a divine spirit attached to them, it might be life or death.
How do you know one of us doesn't have a divine spirit attached to us?
It's not subtle.
Tamara chuckles and says, "You must be talking about the chosen one, huh?"
Yeah, the cult.
Excuse me, what?
The cult leader. Yeah.
Everyone calls them the chosen one. I mean, they don't really call themselves that, but yeah.
I'll be real. Dude looked like he was about to have a slight panic attack.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone surrounded by so many and looking so apathetic.
I think, I mean, I've had some conversations with him one-on-one. He's nice enough. Weird, like, family life thing. Apparently he was part of, to your credit, some cult, but, or at least he was born into one. Obviously left it, but, yeah, there's some prophecy around him, something to do with, knowledge about the goddess's return, to do with his life. I really haven't paid too much attention to it, but a lot of people put stock in it.
Do we know what concept his spirit embodies?
I know that in a fight he can do some pretty interesting stuff. I've seen him heal injuries with his bare hands. People around him seem emboldened, less likely to be affected by magics and other things like that. He's pretty much the centerpiece of their team.
Alright, see. So, him, then the medic, is my thoughts.
He sounds like he might be the medic. So I don't know what the medic is doing if he's laying hands on people.
Backup medic?
I suppose you can never have too many. I don't think we have any, do we?
I
Fortunately
can do some helping out to some degree. Like, don't expect miracles, but if you're about to keel over, I can help.
Damn, is there anything you can't do?
I'm an absolute menace at cleaning because I don't see the problem.
Okay,
What?
well, I asked. It wasn't the answer I was hoping for, but thank you. I appreciate the honesty. I'll be in charge of cleaning.
Divine spirit, like, is there anything that I might know about this?
Do you have religion proficiency at all?
Ah, shit, no, I do not.
Do you have
But
history or anything like
I was hoping to go off of the Halleck thing.
Oh, yeah. Give me a history check with advantage.
Alrighty. Oh, please roll a good one. Holy
Nice.
shit.
So people with guardian angels, that tends to be a more bloodline thing. You know that sometimes your bloodline, the Halleck bloodline, does sometimes get these celestials attached to them. It's basically, most celestials are despondent these days. Most angels tend not to be active, or if they are, it's for brief periods of time. In order to get around that, many of them have untethered themselves from physical forms and attached themselves to, like, a person's bloodline, essentially. That can result in a bunch of different powers. This person sounds different, though. It doesn't sound straight up that simple. This prophecy around them might be able to tell you more if you knew more about it, but it doesn't seem like anyone in this area can help you with it, essentially.
Could I Are there like specific divine spirits that I can narrow this down to?
There are specific divine spirits. Obviously, each angel is unique. Like I said, you don't think this is specifically like a divine spirit inhabiting them or otherwise like assisting them. It sounds different. It sounds maybe linked to this prophecy. You did read something about certain like the goddess had something to do with writing the fates in the stars, and like certain destinies maybe have like a tie to divinity. So it could be that this prophecy is for real and that's what's giving him his powers.
I see.
But this is all you kind of like putting pieces together, Caliban. You've got no direct proof, especially without knowing the exact wording of what this prophecy is supposed to be.
I'll have to do some digging then.
In addition to that, Noctis does look up at you and say, Clara, when you ask about healing, says, well, have you guys been to the workshop yet? They've got various crystal tools. You could kit yourself out with certain magics and arcana secrets if you wanted to before whatever it is you've got coming up. It's a good place to visit to retune your gear as well.
Are you allowed to use those in, like, school sparring?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure your opponents will, so don't get caught at a disadvantage.
Thanks. Are you guys the only ones who are staying here?
A couple of us are out on a course with the 3Ts right now, but yeah, mostly this is us. There's another guy out at the moment, Delphin. He's, I think he head to the workshop himself.
Oh, he's staying here?
Yeah.
Cool. Great.
The few of them share a look, says, is something up?
Nothing. It's fine. I met him briefly.
Oh, he's a lot.
He's great.
I have siblings. I want to insight check this to see if I can figure out what is making her so uncomfortable.
I don't think you'd be able to intuit what's making her uncomfortable. Just the fact that she is a little like, But yeah, Seth will say, Delphin's the only other member of my class. Noctis and Tamara are in class 4. Delphin and myself, Seth, we're in class 5. Verity is in class 6 with Louis and Amrita, but Louis and Amrita are out at the moment with this 3Ts thing that they're doing.
Sorry, what are the 3 T's, or who?
Oh,
maybe?
Trade, transport, and trains, I think, as the two of them like look amongst each other. They sure can say special branch of the military. They handle keeping the rail routes safe and protecting the like artillery rail and other bits and pieces like that. Amrita and Louis are training some of their forces on shell use, as a few of them are starting to adopt that into their military now.
Good to know. Clara's going to turn around. So, what do we think? Should we, unpack some stuff and then go to this workshop?
I think that sounds good.
What time's the workshop close?
I don't think it does.
It surely has to. They're not just going to have someone there 24/7. Just kind of look at the older students.
Says the technicians and like the staff will be there most of the time. They'll close up late at night. In terms of student help, then yeah, they'll be there usually during class hours. So, I mean, there should be someone there.
Okay.
But yeah, Do you guys, Dafer, would you give me, if you have cooking utensils as a proficiency, give me a check at disadvantage due to the help of Verity?
Does any attribute apply here?
Either wisdom or intelligence or like whiz in or dex. I'm happy with any of those three.
Okay, I'm gonna go for int then. Trying to the way I'm framing this is I'm planning ahead of time. I have cooked in kitchens with an adversarial help before, so I'm planning ahead of time.
You
how
know,
to do things,
yeah. You know
so
the
that they can't fuck up.
yeah, you know the issue at hand, as it were. You've been forewarned.
Oh my god, no help.
Oh,
You-
it's that bad.
You're
Oh,
like,
boy.
you're cooking, you're fine, you're like, hand me the salt, you put the salt in, you put various herbs and spices in, dip the spoon in, taste it. Why is it sweet? Why is it really sweet? You look over at Verity, in her hand, big bag of sugar that she handed you when you asked for the salt.
Verity?
Yeah.
Do we have a labeling machine somewhere?
Not that I can think of. Do you need a pen?
No, I think just in the future it might help if we label things in the kitchen.
Ooh, we could order some pretty, like, pots and earthenware and stuff.
Yeah, I'm more along the lines of ingredients. I mean, various spices and the like are just very easy to mix up. It just came to me that it might help if we could label those in the future, so that's harder. Sam, is it unsalvageably sweet? Or is it just an odd taste for what it is?
As with the double natural one, I think it's unsalvageable. Like, not unsalvageably sweet, but you're not going to be able to get rid of that sweet taste to it. It's the meat is candied at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, but even
It's-
meat can taste.
It's edible. It's not good. Not with two natural ones, I'm afraid, Dave.
Yeah.
The meat is
at
covered
least
in a
the
sugar
modifier-
glaze.
At least the modifier put it still into edible category.
Yes, still edible.
Okay.
Delightfully, the salad is spared. I will note that.
Over Verity's head, which shouldn't be too difficult because I'm like 2 or 3 heads taller than her. But my face goes into the direction of the kitchen, and I just make a face to forewarn everybody.
Putting out on the table, people start to eat. You note to some interest that Tamara, Seth, and Noctis all seem really happy with how this turned out as they wolf theirs down.
Oh, they're freaks.
No, it could have been so much worse.
Why
Verity
not, though?
Verity eats a few mouthfuls of hers and then turns back towards you, Dave, and says, "Ooh, I didn't know that Dudukop had such sweet dishes. This is interesting."
Yeah, it's we don't do that one too often. Just from time to time. I thought.
Oh, special occasions, huh?
Yeah, it's one of the more.
Maybe.
I guess if you're not from the region, you don't see it too often. You don't get too used to it.
Verity puts a hand on your shoulder with some difficulty and then says, "Maybe the next special occasion, I'll cook for you as a treat instead."
I just hard looking towards the camera and shaking my head.
I'll try to go with something more conventional next time. I have fucking self-control. Oh.
Are you all heading to the workshop after eating your salad and or candied meat lentil stew?
I would have force myself
do-
to wolf down the meat just to get the
Yeah.
protein.
Okay, so I'm going to sound real American here. This kind of sounds like a baked beans situation.
Yeah, in reality, it probably wouldn't even be that awful. Adding, like, depending on how much sugar you added, right? But
Yeah.
to respect the natural ones in the scenario we're in, it's not great.
You don't put brown sugar on your beef.
I put brown sugar on everything. It just makes it all better. That's how I get up in the
Brown
morning.
sugar and cheese sandwiches.
Oh God.
Oh,
It works.
In a
It
weird
works.
sense, like cheese and jam work, so I can kind of see it, but let's try not to diverge too much into why food is weird.
When
Yeah.
we get our baggage, like, has that been delivered to
Yeah,
dorm?
going into rooms, your baggage is there, but it's not been unpacked.
Oh, okay. We can save that for later.
Yeah, and your rooms is like very much like, because I've only got really one frame of reference, like an English university dorm room. There's like a bed, a desk, a cabinet, and you know, like it's very small but quite tidy. Each room, well, some of the rooms have windows. I think you guys already sort of, when I gave you the map, I think some of you already called certain rooms, but yeah. You obviously can feel free to divvy that up amongst yourselves as and when, if you want to. But yeah, all your stuff is
I'm
there.
gonna go and get my weapon, and it's just, you know, like how the special like carrying cases people get for their fishing rods.
Yeah.
It's almost like that, except for it's like a solid foot taller than he is.
Big.
Ready whenever.
What does WC on the floor plan mean?
Wash closet, bathroom.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the water closet is. What's wrong with you?
But yeah, was it the workshop next? Or did someone else have something in particular they wanted to do?
I think it's the workshop's next.
Oh,
Are we
workshop
still
sounds good.
dirty?
What was that? Sorry.
Yes, we wanted to take a shower.
Oh yeah, you can have squeezed that in during when the stew was like boiling down or something like that, and obviously Caliban, you weren't cooking, so.
Yeah.
Heading to the workshop. It's back in like the main building. No, it's not. It's just across from where you are. So it's literally like just over the other side from where you are. Heading in, it is a bunch of like specified zones, big open plan area. There's like woodworking, metalworking. There are rune template stamps and like big industrial press machines in here. There are smaller side rooms which are more like little arcane laboratories as well, but with big glass windows so that people can see in, so they can see what's going on in there. You can also see that there are quite a few people busying themselves around here. You get the feeling that the workshop students probably get a lot of their free time, or not like free time, education time in this space rather than like specific lesson rooms like the other students do. You also note that they all have numbers on their jackets, like first year, second year, third year, basically. And then some of the other ones have different colored like overalls, which you think probably differentiates them as staff, maybe. I don't know whether you'd be looking to grab someone who's like from first year, or whether you want to try and find a staff member, or as you walk into the space, it's very chaotic, very loud, lots of activity in there.
I think Dafer would, for the most part, just hang back and take a look around. Maybe see if anyone does anything with runes, and if he can, like, out of curiosity, copy or steal anything from that. But other than that, his interest here is rather limited, because the setup does not condone itself well to screwing around with magical abilities.
Looking over at the press machine, you see that there is a a girl with first year on her back. She's wearing an eye patch at present, kind of wrapped around her head and firmly pressed over one eye, of a kind of slightly silverish metal sheen over the front of where the eye patch is. Otherwise, her hair is kind of tied up in a big bun at the back. And at present, she is taking like little templates and looking over them, and then taking like a little hammer and chisel tools in order to carve a different rune shape into them or edit the rune, and then placing it into the machine to press onto a specific material right now. So you can see her doing that, Dafer.
In that case, I'd look to see if there are any runes I can't identify, and if there are, I'm right away, more charismatic. So I'd just ask for I'd wait for a safe moment where it's unlikely she's about to lose a hand or a finger, and out of curiosity ask, hey, you engraved this particular rune. I'm aware of this one, but not this other one. Do you mind telling me what that one means?
Yeah, you go over to her, you recognize some of the runes she's engraving, because it's going into metal, and it's about strengthening. Some of them you recognize, some of them you don't, and kind of pulling up a conversation with her, she just says, well, actually, I don't know if it's a rune or not. I'm sort of experimenting a little. I found an old tome in the library, and there were some shapes in there that I was like, hey, that seems kind of rune-like, but at the same time I didn't find it in any of my rune reference books, so here I am right now just testing to see whether it does anything, and I've tried like 15 different materials so far, but actually I'm struggling to see whether it's more of a leather-working thing or a metal-working thing, but it's quite similar to some metal-working things I've seen before, and she just keeps...
Could I Arcana the rune or the supposed rune she's looking at?
Yeah, you can make an Arcana check.
Oh boy.
It is a variant on hold fast, like often used for putting along welding and riveting, essentially, in order to keep things in place. But it's been edited slightly to a point where you don't recognize it, and she seems to be of the same mind. Like, she doesn't really recognize it. She's more just trying shit out, as far as you can tell, Uther.
Yeah. Well, was hold fast.
Yeah, I found it in a sailing book, and I thought maybe it had something to do with, like, attaching ropes to old sailing ships back before they were, steam and so on. But I couldn't get it to work on rope. I couldn't get it to work on metal. Maybe wood. She's, like, again, mumbling to herself.
Have you tried cloth itself?
No. Maybe a sail.
Cloth or wood would be... I would try a sail.
But then cutting a hole in the sail seems like a silly choice. Maybe it's just the bundled section. I don't know. And she's like, and that sends her off. She just walks away from the conversation she's having with you back towards, like, one corner where there's textiles. She just disappears.
Yeah, Uther is now, like, hand on chin, just, like, the gears are turning in his head now.
As the nerds ponder, is there anyone else who wants to look for anything in this busy space?
They mentioned crystals or crysts holding magic.
Yeah, give me a quick perception check, Katira.
Oh boy, I am not the best of these.
You liar. You piece of shit liar.
The greatest.
At the back of this space, there's like a bigger, heavier door, and you can see written in trade, there's just Magitech storage, and then tiny little like slip of paper from a distance you can see there's some rules about how many things you can take out at any given time and stuff like that, and then you just see mentioned there like attenuated crystals on the little like list of rules and things that can or can't be taken out.
Are there any that they would allow me to take out and or purchase?
So getting closer, taking a look at the rules, like here as you slip through the crowd of people quite easily, as you're quite used to, getting over to it, yeah, it's all like as the students said that most of it's just completely free. There's a locked off section for like special requisitions for things that are given to people when they're going on field studies and stuff. But generally speaking, first and second level spell crystals, you can take up to 3 each and attune to them if you wish. As far as the rules say.
I would like to peruse the selection.
You open up the big double door, step through, and it's another room about a third the size of the room you were just in, but still quite sizable. And you know, like wine bottle racks where they're like all on the walls in that crosshatch shape? It's that, but there are crystalline branches, crystalline twigs, different Crystech devices, just all over the walls, and then some locked cages on the right-hand side with larger, more complex or more powerful devices sequestered away under lock and key. There's any and every first or second level spell that basically takes an action to cast that you can think of in this space.
That's amazing, and she would definitely take some. However, me being an experienced person with 5e, I'm gonna go through the list and pick ones that she thinks sounds, oh, that's useful.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know shit about magic.
So the first level spell crystals work per short rest. The second level spell crystals work per long rest. So once per week versus once per day. So if you can have a first level spell a day or a second level spell a week, and that's how the different crystals are divided up. There are also the crystalline twigs that you can attune to, and I think I posted some information about them on the wiki, but there's stuff like you saw your tutor use one to light a cigarette. There's like a projectile lighter essentially that can be used to ignite flammable things. One that lets you breathe underwater for a period of time, stuff like that here as well. Some like minor magical effects too, basically.
Okay.
And if there's something you think you're particularly looking for, just ask me, like if you want something to magically give you better eyesight at distance or something like that, just let me know and then we'll make a roll to see if you can find something to help you with that. But yeah, feel free to grab any spells. I see Dayfer, you're after a hold person spell. Yeah, you can grab that second level spell off of one of the shelves.
That was me suggesting things. I do not have any capacity to actually cast that. Because I like the make.
Oh, you don't have a high DC?
Overload.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. Sorry, my apologies.
Is it easy enough to spot where Adhira's gone to?
Yeah, you would have seen probably her hair, right, from across the room as she gets to that space. And then as she opened the doors, you would have seen the crystals.
I'll go catch up with her.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking for anything in particular?
Oh, something that will help me do damage. Maybe help me get around quickly.
What are the rules? How many can we take?
3 per student, and first level is once a day, and then second level is once per week.
I see. Are they like organized into sections in any way?
Yeah, mostly by school of magic, so evocation.
That's what I was hoping for. Yeah. Okay, so I'm by no means that capable of a mage, but I sort of understand the basics. So if you're looking for things to help you do damage, you want to be looking in this section where it's got like evocation written next to it. They conjure up effects. So if you want something to do damage by itself, that's probably where you should look. If you're looking for things to get around, then you're going to want to look in a different section. There should be some stuff in like maybe... Where would be the best to look? Some of the transmutation school stuff might be helpful.
Transmutation.
It
Isn't
means
that
like
like
changing
alchemy?
things from one to another.
I see.
So if you're looking for something to help you move faster, there should be a long strider crystal somewhere.
Let me. I think she will take Long Strider then if Clara is going to point it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
and if you're looking for something that moves and does damage, I wonder whether they have Scorcher around here.
Scorcher?
I forget the name of the person who comes up with it. A lot of magical effects are named after people, or at least they used to be. They might have different names here, but I saw someone use it once. They like rocketed from one place to another, and there was a big trail of fire behind them.
As you're talking about it, some of the workshop students kind of point it out to you, like near the top, and like just in passing as they're coming in and out at the same time, and they show you that there's like a, you know, like in libraries where there's the ladders on rails where you can bring them around. Point out one of those to you if you want to get up higher.
Ah. I mean, if you're interested in this stuff, you can find a third one. You can search through the glossary or whatever. It seems a bit... If you're going to take one, you might as well take three. So just find something else you like.
Of course. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to pick out a couple for myself as well, so if you need any help or suggestions, I'll be milling around.
It's good to have someone to explain these sort of things to me. I'm honestly not very good at it.
Do they not have much magic where you come from?
No, and the bit that they did was, well, now they sort of frown upon it. The methods they used were considered inhumane to other beings.
I mean, I can't comment on that. But you will have seen some. You're from the desert, right?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a dust lynx?
No, wait, have I?
You
Is that
could-
something
you-
I would know?
You absolutely could have, yes.
Okay, then yes. Yes.
So, you know they do that thing where, like, they can make the world around them darker. It's magic, it's natural. It exists in the world around us. The only thing inhumane about magic is how people use it. So, don't feel bad about it. If you're using it for the greater good, then it's good.
Greater good.
As you're looking at the crystals and you
Greater
having this conversation, a familiar shiver runs up your spine and a voice whispers in your ear, "Wither and bloom."
I love that spell.
I am going to be. I'm gonna look for that.
You do find it in the necromancy section.
Clara, it matters how you use it, not what it is. Adhera's spirit immediately. Necromancy!
Why are you like this? I will take Wither and Bloom then.
Okay.
And I will also take Long Strider, and what I assume you're referring to as Agnar's Scorcher?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
I think that Clara's got it on the head that, like, these spells probably would have been attached to, like, ancient magecraft, and Empress City is probably trying to wipe that clean a little bit and make it more standardized, so it probably would be called Scorcher on the display, I think.
I'm a genius.
There would be no Big B. Only Mage Hand or Arcane Hand, I think, is the non-copyright version.
Sorry about that.
Does anyone else have anything that they're grabbing or picking up in particular?
Yeah, I'm gonna shop and pick some stuff up.
Cool.
I'll go through the list.
That's what Wither and Bloom does. I forgot about that one.
I cannot see what it does, so I have no idea.
1 second.
I can just post a thing of it. So I have a if you've never used this site, it's really good. So the 5e tools stuff has it has a section for like feats and spells and stuff, and you can like pin stuff in a list.
That's
So I have this for every single character I have, just to like keep track of my own spells lists. But it gives you like little descriptions, and you can filter it and search for stuff. It does it for like weapons and feats and stuff. This is not sponsored, by the way, but I do think everyone should be aware of it because it's really good.
Especially with D&D Beyond doing its fuckery recently. No, I'm just doing the thing where I shop for spells now.
Yeah, of course.
I need to start a new list.
Second level was the limit. Yeah.
Dafer, are you still going to grab some spells for casting when you're not in overdrive, or are you shying away from it entirely?
I'm pretty much shying away from it entirely. I'll be focusing mostly on my rune stuff overall because it just does not mesh well.
In which case, while everyone's shopping for runes, you spot one person nearby, another first year male student, long hair that's been kind of tied up into sort of a messy like man bun on the top, and then spots your group, comes on over to you, Dave, for spotting that you're not as busy as the other ones, and says, are you class 10?
Yes, we are indeed.
He puts out a hand to you and says, my name's Dylan. He's about the same size as you, big, quite well-built guy.
I shake his hand. I assume we exchange a powerful
electric spark between your eyes, yeah, as you shake hands, yeah, absolutely. He just says, I'm technically a part of your class. I'm more part of class 1, but some of us have been split up into your class as well. I specialize in enchantments and the making mundane things magical, I suppose one could call it. I couldn't help but notice your greaves are essentially enchanted. You've runecrafted them, yes?
Yes, to a degree. I essentially use the shell as my shell as a power source for various effects. Mostly intensifying things and just moving shit around. Not too.
Oh, so it's more like they channel the flow of your shell's energy rather than using anything else as an energy source?
For now, yes.
Interesting. So really, they're more like channel runes than like invoking. He spends a moment thinking. Says, "Have you thought about running a different power source through them, seeing what happens?"
I didn't have access to too much back in Dual Cop. I tried a little here and there, like the odd battery I could get access to or the like, but I didn't have too many successful experiences. And when I figured that shells work, I just started with going down that route and got pretty far with it so far.
Speaking of Dudicop, we actually got our first shipment of ambar through. Considering your gauntlets are metal and you've got channel directing runes, you could try running some ambar lightning through it. No, you might be surprised, and I just like point out some of the lining of my boots, which, like, my boots have as their second keyword because like my boots and my gauntlets are like dual
have the light keyword.
Mhm.
So the boots have a separate second keyword than the gauntlets. The gauntlets have throw. The boots have lightning.
Interesting. I think that should work nicely then, because if they're already attenuated to lightning energy, then, well, at least it's not going to electrocute you, but it'll probably really hurt whoever you're kicking.
It's to be honest, I mostly choose that one for in case I meet somebody else like me that for whom introducing lightning as an energy source disrupts some kind of flow.
He directs you over to a desk where he's been working with some ambar. Tells you that the biggest issue he's coming across so far is there's no way to, how do you put it? No way to limit the flow of energy from it. It releases all of its power at once, which means that as something to test and work with, it's been difficult. He does, however, mention that if you were to he kind of pulls up some stuff that he's been working with and shows it to you. Says, if you were to take a chunk of this amber and sort of clip it into your boots, you might be able to get a single powerful burst out of it, essentially giving you a one-off smite, but using lightning instead of radiant.
Yeah, that seems useful. However, if I do that, I might want to not just clip it in there, but have like a certain compartment. And I assume we start like architecting and nerding out like how you could do this, how like have like little pouches or something where you could load this stuff in. Mechanisms to unload it and so on.
He starts drawing that up with you. He says, for now, why don't you field test it once? He gives you like one piece and says, just in case it doesn't work or if there's any sort of problems you're having, rather than us getting ahead of ourselves, if you try it once and then see if it works and then come back to me and we'll work on something. I've got one of my first project pitches coming up in about a month, and if this works out, I'd be quite happy to use this, so thanks.
I mean, why wait? It's not like the practice room is far in the way. It's just down the corridor. I'll be back in a second.
You could fire it off against something random, but if you were to use it in an actual pitched battle, we'd get a better result from it, so you know what kind of damage it does to a target. Shell users and Nasmic monsters have a surprisingly similar durability rating. Go figure.
I wonder why.
I'll inform you of anything I find out.
Thank you very much. And yeah, he'll hand you that chunk of amber.
Next.
Has anyone got anything else that they're sort of looking at, or has everyone got their crystals and so on?
I have a question about the crystals.
Yes, Atira, a question about the crystals.
Are they all the same uniform size and shape? Or okay.
There's different markings on them, but they are standardized, and that's the point of the crystal technology, is the fact that they are standardized. It means that if someone makes like a weapon, they can be slotted into, or any kind of machinery, they can be fed into them and then replaced easily once they wear out. That is the main reason that Empress City has thrived so much, is the standardization of these crystals. So they look mostly the same.
Interesting.
What was the rule for cantrips, out of curiosity?
I don't think there are any cantrip attunable crystals here, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, shit. That is unfortunate and changes my options.
Just first and second level spells.
So,
I think spells are free.
Caliban.
What was the limit aside from the spell levels? I know.
And must take an action or a bonus action to cast, so it can't be something that takes a minute or something like that.
Gotcha. No reactions.
Actually, a reaction would be fine as well. My apologies, I just forgot to mention that. So if people want to change for shield or absorb elements or something like that, you certainly can.
Okay.
And if a spell has something like uses 50 GP of damage or something like that, ignore it. Ignore the financial cost of it.
Okay. And it was limited to how many runes?
Sorry, you can take 3 because you've got 3 attunement slots. That's my way of narrativizing. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, I got my thing.
Okay. Everyone happy with what you got?
Yes.
I think by the time you're done in the workshop, having looked around, talked to some people, I don't know if anyone wants to get their like weapons looked at, maintained, or anything like that as well while they're there.
Just gonna have Noblesse Oblige, just in a workbench, just making sure that it's up to par.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've got anyone on hand to help you as well if you want to pull people in to have a comment, but otherwise, yeah, you can work on your own stuff in there as well. There are some workbenches in your dorms as well, although they're obviously less kitted out than the ones in the workshop across the way.
I have proficiency in Tinker's tools.
Yes, yeah, you're perfectly fine. Yeah, you sit down and make yourself at home, and yeah, Caliban, you're quite proficient in this space. You blend in quite well, if not for the fact you aren't wearing a labeled overall, essentially.
Incredible.
So yeah, by the time you're done, it's probably end of the day. Most of the classes have wrapped up. People are starting to go into their free time. There's a general milling about of individuals, but most people are flooding back to the dormitories, including like the second year non-combat students as well. There's like a deluge of people into the dormitories, but their dormitories are separate to the combat students. They've got like a taller multiplex buildings. The combat students get a little bit of preferential treatment, but they are also going out and risking their lives, so I suppose there's some degree of that in there as well. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything in particular people want to do with their evenings.
Ed here is probably going to turn in. When is dinner, or have we already passed that?
Dinner, I mean, you guys either can go out for dinner outside of the campus if you want to, or you can have Dafer cook or cook something for yourself. It entirely up to you, Atira, I guess.
Oh, okay. Seems that Dafer wants to cook. She's just going to retire.
That's an option. That's an option. I'm not saying we need to. I'm saying it's an option. If the option does not suit, please.
I'm fine with that option.
Yeah. Okay. Atira, Dafer will cook for you.
But I'll mostly be unpacking, get everything sorted. Walking into her room, she sets all of her stuff down and starts slowly unpacking. Do we have windows
Yes.
outside?
Yeah, you certainly can.
What is the view like?
East Academy is set down quite low. There's a wall around it. You're on the first floor, which means that your view is like there's some greenery and garden around, but it's what's beyond that, right? Like as your vision goes up and out, there is in the center of the city the beyond skyscraping, piercing through the heavens, purple crystal tower, the drifting of airships around it, the pruning platforms that you've gotten used to, these like hovering platforms where people trim sections of the crystal off to be turned into the very things that you guys have gathered from the repository here at your academy. There are towering marble white skyscrapers mixed in with steel and glass skyscrapers off towards the center of the city, and then a myriad of different buildings, large factories, old cathedrals. It's this kind of thing that sort of like dominates the skyline. And of course, not that I've mentioned it up until now, but that bubble that protects the city that I spoke about at the very start is like a vague, shimmering, purplish energy that covers over the top of the city that does, on occasion, tinge some of the light that comes through, gives stuff a purple hue for a moment as it ripples and flows around the edge of the city boundary. That is the view from your room.
It all looks so alien.
That it does.
Completely different to what she's used to.
The shiver up your spine, the whisper in your ear. I think things have gone well, all things considered.
She swallows and turns back to the vessel that she's probably put on the desk. She switches to her natural language. I bet this is all very fortuitous for you to finally get out of where you were.
It is nice to finally catch up to where all this stagnation has flowed into. Always nice to see fresh growth after the burn.
Such is the way of life.
Such is the way of life. Yes, Atira. Very true.
Though that chosen one, I'm not keen on facing him tomorrow.
Too pretty? Feel like you'll get distracted?
No, he has a spirit of his own.
Worry not. It's just a lesson.
As they say. I'm gonna leave you in the room for now. Just let you... I don't know what you do, but... relax, I guess.
I might stretch my legs.
You don't have any.
That you know of.
There's that little, like, outward breath of, like, oh, fuck, called it. She picks up one of her fantasy books and gives a tiny little wave before heading out and closing the door.
A brief shimmer of green and black smoke as you close the door, leaving your vessel behind. Heading back to the group, Dafer's in the middle of cooking steak and veggies for whoever wants it. Those of you who partake in it, you note that it is shockingly not a sweet candied steak, and is in fact quite delectable.
Are the other classes around?
They are currently sat eating what appears to be a slightly overcooked, like, root vegetable stew. So instead it looks weirdly like porridge.
Tragic.
And there is very strange smiles on 3 of 4 faces. Verity herself seems quite pleased with the dish. She looks up at Seth and says, "Oh, it's less chewy this time." But yeah, anyone got anything particular they want to do with their evening? Obviously, you got your fantasy book, Atira.
Yeah, it's truthfully just like a fantasy novel. Maybe, you know, kind of trashy, maybe more like romantic oriented, but it's what she's been using to teach herself more of the common trade language.
So sort of like a trashy young adult, sort of like...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's also a small, comfort from home.
Written from home, but in trade. Gotcha. Anyone else Adhira's going to read this evening?
I think... do we have like a syllabus for...
Yeah, you would. And in your notebook, there would be like a sort of vague instruction of what you'll be taught over the next few months and stuff like that you could look through, Caliban.
Probably go to the library, like see... Well, if it's open.
Yeah, the library's open 24/7. So the dorms, the only thing that closes about the academy is the main building and like access in and out of the dormitories. Out of the campus itself, the front gate. Otherwise, a lot of the facilities, technically even the workshop, is open 24/7.
Just gonna go to the library, look up what is there, like what's gonna be for the class schedule, and then just like maybe do like a brief brush over the fundamentals.
Yeah, you sit down and read that. One of the librarians comes over to Caliban and says, "Oh, you must be the new student from the new class. Good to see you in here studying already."
Well, we're a bit behind schedule, so I might as well try to keep up as much as I can.
If you, I love the library here, and we have a good selection, but I did happen to notice a few of the topics on your syllabus this year. There's a library just down the road called the Witch's Nook. They have a far better selection on Semesian history than we do, so someone as refined in book taste as yourself might find yourself enjoying their selection a little better.
Much appreciated. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Oh, please, I was just being honest. And she pats you on the shoulder and then walks away and leaves you to your studying.
I'll keep that in mind.
So yeah, Caliban, library, Adhira, fantasy novel, practicing your trade. Anyone else?
I'm gonna see if I can get one of the chess players to sit down with me for a game.
You can either get Tamara or Noctis. Tamara seems to be the better player of the two, shall we say.
Which way around do I want to do this? I'm gonna flip a coin. In that order, Tamara, then Noctis. So I play Noctis first.
Okay. Tamara sits down and watches, though, because this could be a great opportunity to watch Noctis lose to someone else. He sits down and says, before we start, have you played before? I'm not being hustled, am I?
Not to my knowledge. I used to play against my brother all the time, anytime it rained, and we couldn't go outside. So I'm passable. I don't know how I might measure up to you two, though.
Okay. Alright. I've got a chance. He sort of like pats his knees and like smiles to himself, believing there is a chance. How do you want to play this, Clara? Is this like guns blazing, like coming out aggressive chess style, or like are you opening up and just kind of seeing how he plays? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I feel like she's not an aggressive person in any stretch of the imagination. So I imagine, if anything, she's like gonna use the first couple of moves to feel out what he plans on doing, and then come up with a game plan from there.
In which case,
Sicilian defense.
he does have a +3 to this. I just can't put that kind of proficiency in a NPC sheet. So, he's actually quite aggressive, you notice. Like, very much going on the attack, trying to set up forks, like moving forward, trying to put you under pressure. That said, you do notice that this is out of desperation to win. There's like a desire to finally win a game of chess in his heart that you can see quite prominently displayed. Up to you how you want to deal with him, whether you want to take advantage of that or not.
Yeah, I think she's gonna, having spotted this, I think she's gonna try and set up a situation where, like, it looks really advantageous for him, and so he'll move a lot of stuff forward and just forget what the actual goal of the game is.
Give me a deception check with advantage, I think.
Okay. Oh god, 8.
I will roll insight for him. 4.
Oh.
Doctors, no.
You can see Tamara vibrating, seeing the trap get hung. Like he keeps looking over like, is she excited to see me win? That seems odd. And like he keeps pressing forward, and then you see the moment, Clara, the moment he steps just too far forward. What do you want to do?
Checkmate. Sorry.
You see this like moment of like elation of like, no. Oh no. Like hands sink, like elbows on knees, face in hand. Nods, says good game. Like reaches forward to shake your hand.
She shakes it. You're actually a lot better than you let on. I nearly messed that up.
He nods and just says, yeah, I mean, I used to be part of a club growing up. I've played all my life. Tamara just picked it up because it was the only way, well, when we first met, it was the only thing we talked about. She just got really good, and I haven't beaten her since, was it the start of this year? And Tamara nods and says, I've been studying all summer.
Well, it looks like it's paying off. Although if you want some advice, I'd stay your hand a little bit more. I didn't expect you to actually fully commit to what I thought was kind of an obvious bait.
Yeah,
Like, I get you're excited, but if
yeah.
you move everything forward, then you leave nothing to defend with.
Should have moved the king forward. Yeah. He's just like, he sighs, leans back, sinks into the chair. It's just like, you're right. It's just like that in a fight. I always get caught up in the moment. Always need Tamara to drag me out of it.
I mean, it's not always a bad thing. If everyone in the world played like me, then all these matches would go on for hours, and I'm not sure anyone would actually win. It's a balance. You're too far in the one direction. Honestly, I think I'm too far in the other. So, having people to balance us out kind of makes sense.
Tamara shakes her head and says, no, I'm pretty perfect.
You wait, I'm coming for you next. Not today, but another day.
She just jokes, shaking, like, as she stands up.
Clara's gonna turn round to Dafa. So, what did you think?
To be honest, the pieces that you moved around looked pretty nicely made. I have not played chess once in my life. I have no idea. I just saw how eager Noctis was and how defeated you made him feel. So all I gathered from that is that you lured him into a trap somehow. But I can't really tell. I can't really tell much in what manner. I'm not familiar with the rules, I must admit.
It started as something fun, but my dad used to tell me that chess is really a strategic game. If you know how people work, then you can plan around them. I've never been that smart, at least not book smart, but that sort of thing makes sense to me.
I mean, yeah, that tracks. I mean, with you having been able to lure him into this trap, it kind of gathers that you're more of a people analytics person.
playing patient. It's... I grew up hunting, like, animals for pest control or for food. You can't just barrel at them. You have to wait until they make a mistake. People are much the same. What do they call it? The most dangerous game, right?
So, with what you managed to gather in how Caliban and I fight today, do you think you'd have enough of a grasp on how we move to anticipate like a movement for us in order to like put a well-placed shot, for example?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't do anything to risk actually hitting either of you unless I had feasibly no other choice. But you moving quite... You're kind of like opposites in a way, but in a complementary sense. You're patient, he's aggressive. You match up against each other quite well. So if you face that outwards against something else, trying to defend against a measured onslaught while Caliban's going off on one, it's going to be difficult. He's fast.
Yeah. I was honestly more thinking along the lines of the spar that we have tomorrow. So if I, for example, just drop to the ground or as to set up a nice line of sight for you to shoot at, I was wondering if that kind of thing could work as a cooperative move.
Yes, but in general, if I'm facing anyone who has my speed of reactions, the second you drop, they're going to know. So it might be hard to say, and it's even harder to do, but the best thing you can do is just watch yourself. You focus on them. It's my job to make sure I don't tag you in the back of the head with an arrow. Not that I fire arrows, but you get the picture.
Yeah. For the most part, I'm concerned with finding out where we can slot and make up for each other's blind spots in terms of combat. The sooner we figure that one out, the higher our survival chances.
Well, we haven't seen three of us do anything yet. At least not combat-wise. I guess that's what tomorrow's for. It's practice for everyone.
Yeah, fair. Good point.
So Caliban's reading, Adhira's reading, Clara and Dave for a chess game and conversation. Uther, is there anything in particular you want to do that evening?
He's probably just like on a couch, just like half listening to this, just carving a rune into a ball of clay with a knife. Just slowly, just...
One that you know already, or like one from one of the things you saw earlier, still musing about that hold fast rune that was altered, or
one of the ones he knows and uses. He's prepping.
Okay, you're doing prep work for the spa the next day. So you spend the day listening to the conversation, whittling. Eventually night falls. It's been a pretty busy day. Adhira, you start to feel the shells like drain on you. You don't feel sick, but you do feel that like when you close your eyes, quite burny, tired. Is anyone staying up tonight, or is it a early to bed in order to be ready for what comes in the morning type deal?
I'm definitely the latter. Going to bed nice and on time.
Just gonna go to bed early just to sort of just like test the waters for like how far can I like when does things start, what's the period of how much can you slack off
Okay.
or
Gotcha.
delay before
Oh no.
Also early to bed.
Okay. Sounds like most people are early to bed in preparation for the little spa and test the next day. In which case, I feel like that's a great place for us to leave off, with you guys tucking into bed here in your dormitories for the first time, sleeping in a strange place. always interesting. Not as interesting as waking up in a different place as you're used to, though. But we'll pick up with that next session.
Woo!
Oh yeah.
Yay.
We did it. Session 1.
Yeehaw.
Finally happened.
Thank you for everyone that watched. If you're watching this in VODs and you have questions or anything about the rules that I'm using or anything like that, let me know and I'll pop them in the description as to like how the weapons and all that sort of stuff work. But yeah, that's it. That's us for this week. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. See you soon.
Woo!